morning, everybody. 5:30, 2024. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to have you here. Guys, I did the full Discord reboot. We are going to be very optimistic this morning, saying that everything's going to be fine with the volume. Remember, if you can't hear me, make sure that you post it in the room. If you see a flood of Ys coming in after you post, well then, it means that it's a good idea for you to reboot. So nice to have you guys in here. TLC, I see you jumped in. Good to see you. Hey, Morgan, Ron, Zorro, Doug, good to see you again. Hey, Miss Debbie. I've got two Miss Debbies now. I love that. Chef, hola, ¿cómo estás? Good to see you guys. Is there a phone for Ninja Trader? You can't log on to them? Um, Jonathan, I would say, and I'm weird like that, let's check ninjatrader.com. And I'm not sure that there is a phone, to be honest with you. I think what you have to do, let's go to support, contact support. Dun, 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 dun. User video guys, there's all their answers. Web, desktop, Ninja Mobile. And there you go. So Chef just gave you the link. You do have to put a ticket in with them. Everybody's gone digital, right? Thanks for that, Chef. You got there before I could. I am not sure, TLC, if you can share it, that would be awesome. I've got the trade desk on my phone speed dial, but that's not the same one for support. Um, you can't log on to them, Jonathan? Okay. Hey, Erla. And there's the help desk. Thank you, Ron. Jonathan, sometimes if I can't log on, it might be a data issue. Been trying for an hour. Oh, man. Do you have a live account with him, Jonathan, or were you on the demo? Um, your demo may be done if you were only on the demo. So you do have the live. Did you try to get Apex or something like that? One of those other. Oh, and Morgan, yours is trying to connect too. Guys, it may just be a data issue right now. Sometimes that happens. There's a lot of storms going on. Maybe Chicago's got like a deep dish problem or a hot dog problem or a Green River and can't believe it's not Polish sausage problem going on. Yeah, I've got the live, but I also have my Apex stuff. So unfortunately, there's not much I can do. Reach out to them and just kick back and enjoy the classroom. No pressure of trying to trade while you watch class, right? Don't worry, I'm taking a lot of pictures today. We're all going to get smarter today. It's going to be fun. Gonna be fun. Um, Guys, every morning I check news. Every morning I check news. And I'm going to tell you right now, and this sounds ugly, and it's not meant to. I don't care about the GDPQQ or unemployment claims. I mean, I do care about unemployment claims because it affects the nation, but I'm not trading the news. I'm not trading what they say and then having a reaction after it. No worries, Jonathan. You will be missed. But what I do is I say to myself, man, at 8:30 a.m., these red boxes, these might screw up my good time. These might make the market jump or bump or spike or something like that. And I choose not to trade into them because I might be in the perfect trade with every advantage, with every moving member of the buying party pushing my trade in the right direction. And then unemployment claims comes out and some guy goes, oh, 219,000, huh? Let me dump $1 million into the market to the short side, and I just get run over, slipped out. So I'm not willing to take that risk, and this is really the first advantage that I give myself every day. So at 10 a.m., we've got pending home sales. The M&Ms are buying homes, and we're going to find out how many. But it's a red box, guys, and that red box just says to me, Mark, sit on your hands, sidestep the market, go do something else, scratch the dog behind the ears. Don't jump in front of that freight train of emotion. You will have to make your own decisions, but I think there's probably nobody in this room that hasn't been absolutely decimated by a news release at least once. A couple weeks ago, I forgot about FOMC minutes, and with a $200 stop, I took a $1,400 loss almost instantly. Shame on me. I should have checked my news, but at least I know when it's coming. And then everything that we talk about every day, guys, straight from the nexgent3.com website. If you go to the education tab, we're going to the trading guide. Guys, this is the meat and potatoes of what you need. I'm going to give you everything that you need to be successful. I'm not going to hold back on you. I'm not going to say, oh, you know what? Here is 43% of what it takes to be successful with our software. For the low price of $19.99, you can have the rest, right? No, I'm going to give you everything that you need. And I'm actually going to give you the clearest, most consolidated, precise, no BS path to learn this stuff as fast as possible. You have everything you need, guys. You have the software, you have the education. I'm going to give you all the tools to learn how to study it. The only thing missing from the equation is your effort. So make sure that your effort to learn matches your desire to be rich. That's today's lesson. So we're going to focus today. I'm going to go to the glossary of common terms, and I'm going to scroll down just a little bit like I do every day. And I'm going to let you guys know, I was going to talk about the most aggressive counter trend trades ever today, but Ron C. said, hey, Mark, no. Talk about that high probability trend trade. Talk about that trade that typically wins 70 to 80% of the time. Let's get a little background, a little understanding on a trade that creates confidence through the memory of success. And rumor has it, guys, this is the trade that's going to turn you into a chart reader. This is the trade that's going to teach you to read your indicators. And the more time you focus in the very beginning on this high probability trend trade, keeping it simple, keeping it focused, guys, the quicker you're going to become a chart reader. And once you're a chart reader, there's my segue, you are going to understand where the market is likely to continue, where it's likely to go, and where it's likely to stop. And you're going to do this by speaking to yourself in terms of the advantages that you learned at the high probability trend trade. Chart reading is about 90% of your day. And this is just a sad realization for a lot of people. 90% of your day, you're going to sit on your hands and do nothing. 90% of your day, you're better off distracted by a video game or a good book or a little movie running on the side. But that 10%, guys, that 10% becomes magical. Old Ron, keeping it focused. I love it. That's what he does. Ron keeps me in check, guys. He's like that little Jiminy Cricket on my shoulder. Every time I want to talk about how to fight everything, he's like, Mark, no, don't do it. And then come to Myrtle Beach, we'll have chili dogs. So Ron's my hero. Guys, 90% of your day is doing nothing. 90% of your day is watching stuff. And you know, I was talking with my brother this morning, and I took a lot of pictures of the market this morning. And I'm like, man, I've had about 20 opportunities to form an opinion. About 20 opportunities to guess what the market was going to do. Had about 20 opportunities to break my rules because I thought it should. And it should, in my own personal trading, guys, is the most dangerous two words that I can ever utter before a trade. Because when I say it should, it contradicts indicators say. It should go down from here because of that great top. Well, the indicators say I'm into a termination. So, guys, we're going to focus on the reads, and the reads are going to let you know whether or not you have rules met for a trade. And the rules are pretty easy. Ron. The rules are only 3 rules, guys. Each rule creates an advantage, and it's the 3 advantages that are the high probability trend trade. So rule number 1 is going to give you the advantage of momentum, guys. The advantage of a market that is likely to push in the direction of the trend. I want to state it right now. The I thought I should have section. Man, I think that they give it to you with your McDonald's application, Rob, because you're not going to be a day trader if you're trading, I think. Um, indicators say. Indicators say. Guys, momentum is your first advantage. Momentum is the advantage that I watch you guys building outstanding trading plans revolving around this one advantage. And once you have momentum, you're going to learn how to look for a clear path to make sure that there's no areas likely to stop the market. And I'm telling you right now, I've taken some pictures this morning. Understanding rule number two has has kept a lot of people out of trades this morning. A lot of people from getting run over. And you think it's with rhythmic, Jen? Um, I don't know. I have rhythmic, and I'm still up and running. My rhythmic is still cranking. Josh, you're out too? Yeah, guys. So it is. I appear to still be moving. So it's definitely a data issue, guys. That's okay. Let's focus on the lessons then. We'll have fun. The cool thing is you don't have to be in a trade to do anything. You're good in Florida. I'm good in Texas. So Josh, you're in a blue state. There you go. Let's make it. Let's make it political. Oh, you're Arizona. I thought you were in California for some reason. Oh, Jen, just hang it up. Go get a pint. The beach is always good. Guys, I'm still in and running right now, so we'll see. Hopefully it comes back. Usually these things work out. But guys, if you know, and I'm just going to say this, I'm not telling you how to trade. If you know that there is a challenge with the data that provides you the information that you need to take a trade, um, I just don't trade. I don't do it. TLC, you should be able to close down from the Rhythmic or the Tradeovate site if you need to. Um, but yeah, if you know it's jacked up a little bit, guys, let's just get smart today. Let's focus on the lessons. And as long as mine is running, you guys can look at my charts. It'll be cool. You have before it doesn't work. Are you Tradeovate or are you on Rhythmic TLC? So Tradeovate, so you go to the Tradeovate site and you go through and you close it out from Tradeovate and it doesn't do it. Oh yeah, see, I don't know anything about the copiers. I can't help you with the copiers there. I hear so much stuff about the copiers sabotaging things. I'm scared of them. I'll just make my money on one account. I need some stability when I'm risking thousands of dollars. I don't know about you guys. So, guys, rule number one provides momentum. Rule number two, clear path. And then rule number three is going to be your entry, guys. And your rule number three, once you're comfortable understanding momentum and a clear path and all of those things, rule number three is going to change. You're going to have several opportunities to find an entry area, but we're going to talk about the entry area for the highest probability trend trade first. And these three rules, these three advantages, are only two charts deep, guys. Um, it's enticing, right? Especially you guys that may have a friend that uses multiple charts, right? Maybe you see someone in the room with the addition of a 21 or a 55. I saw somebody post in here today, and Gerard, I think I'm going to ask you about it. Where did you come up with a 10-2 chart for gold or whatever it was that you were trading? You're going to be tempted to change things up because you saw somebody do something, guys. I want you to remember that we're all in a different place, right? We're all at a different step in the journey, which means that we all see different things. We all process things differently. We all understand concepts at a different level. And if you try to accelerate your level to somebody that's ahead of you, it becomes very confusing. So let's keep it simple for the new users. We're going to use two charts. And to keep it even easier than that, and this is kind of cool how we can do it, we're going to use the first bar on the large chart, the most current bar, the bar that is ticking up and down. And it's going to define the direction of the market. It will let you know if you have that advantage of momentum through rule number one. And it's also going to define the areas that may be problematic, and that's going to be rule number two. Your first two rules, guys, are taken from the most current bar on the large chart. Once your rules are met, and this is an important part of it, once your rules are met, not when you're just tired of looking at the large chart, you're going to turn to a smaller, faster chart. This becomes your refinement chart. What happens in this one bar on the large chart, we saw awesome examples of it yesterday. We circled some stuff. What happens in this one bar on the large chart is all of these bars on a smaller, faster chart. So you're going to see kind of like an X-ray. The very bottom of the most current bar is all the way down here on the small chart. The very top of the bar is, in a perfect world, a pullback to resistance inside of triggers. But by using this refinement process, you're going to be able to reduce risk, you're going to increase your profit potential, and the cool thing is you're going to be able to pinpoint exactly where the market is most likely to continue. I use these two charts. John Novak set up these two charts because they're really kind of a reflection of who's in control. The large chart is the large crowd. The large crowd is gonna push the market the way they want it to go, and they're gonna establish momentum, and they're gonna react to these areas. And the small crowd is gonna fight the large crowd. Thank goodness. When they fight the large crowd, they give us a little shove back to the absolute best of the best high probability entry for the high probability trend trade. So we're talking about only two charts, guys, and we're talking about only three rules. You've got five things to think about to find a level of success, a trade that typically wins 70 to 80% of the time, a trade that teaches you to read your indicators, a trade that creates confidence through the memory of success. Stay focused on the high probability trend trade until it's easy. And then once it's easy, you're going to look at your chart and you're not going to say, is there a trade? You'll literally look at your chart and say, do I have momentum? Oh, I do. Well, I wonder if my path is clear. It is. Hell, I'm going to find an entry and take advantage of both that momentum and the clear path, guys. And that's what we're going to do. And you got to do that by learning the trigger line and Fibonacci rules for when it's okay to trade. That's what we're going to do for the first hour. High probability trend trade. You guys are going to get good at this. And I'm going to give you everything you need to be good at this. And the way that you're going to get to where you want to be. Post your trades in class. And I'm going to have John Novak fix this because I don't want you to just post your trades in class. I want you to post your chart reads in class. I want you to tell me what you see. And I firmly believe that you will become a better chart reader, not from the trades that you take, but from the pictures that you take when you don't have the pressure of a trade. And we did a lot of that this morning, and we'll review them. Post your trades in class because that's the goal, right? Is to become a confident trader. So every time you post in the room, tell me what you saw. When you annotate a chart, you have to tell me what your chart read is. You have to tell me, I saw strong triggers and I saw momentum and I saw a clear path and I took an area inside of favorable large triggers. And Mark, what you're doing when you post in the room is you're saying, Mark, did I read my indicators correctly? Did I identify momentum the way I'm supposed to? Was I correct when I called this a clear path? And did my entry area offer me the absolute least amount of risk and the highest profit potential? Because my goal is to be a confident trader. So Mark, do me a favor, critique what I just posted in the room. When your rules aren't met, that 90%, guys, start flashing pictures. Start taking pictures of everything. Take pictures of momentum. Take pictures of termination conditions. Take pictures of previous entries so that you can become smarter. The more you post, the quicker you're going to get to where you want to be. I say this without hesitation. The people that post the most get to where they want to be the fastest. So don't be shy. Get in there, monopolize, be stingy with the time in the classroom because as long as you're posting, it is your time. The second thing is you've got to use the spreadsheet Nexgen gave you guys, and I'm going to give you mine. I give mine every day. We update it every day because you guys are freaking brilliant. And when you post something in the room that I think is, oh man, I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to follow that plan. That's a trade that has a statistical advantage. That's something that I should be replicating in my own trading. Guys, I steal it. I steal it and I drop it into this spreadsheet. And there's 4 tabs on it. The first tab is your trade journal. Every time you take a trade, you're going to take a picture. You're going to annotate that chart. When you're done posting in the room, you're going to drop it into this first tab. And this first tab is nothing more than a trade journal. This is what I did. And for you guys that are going to download it right now, I put a little how to paste as well. A little 1, 2, 3, how to paste into the spreadsheet. First, you're just going to drop your link in, right? Here's the link to my picture. I'm going to drop it in. I'm going to click on the Insert tab. I'm going to follow that with a click on the link button. And then I'm just going to drop the information in, guys. And what this does is it gives you a followable link. It gives you a hyperlink. And that hyperlink kind of simplifies that ugly screencast and gives you something to paste. The goal isn't just to do it, though. So often you guys love to take pictures, right? But you don't do anything with them. It's like, have you ever been on vacation with the kids and you take 20,000 pictures and you never look at them again? But you talk about it, you remember it, but maybe you don't remember it accurately. So you got to go back and study these pictures. You got to go back and you have to ask yourself, man, yesterday, what worked? What didn't work? And what was I relaxed? You guys are going to find it hard to believe, but when you really begin to trust the rules, when you really begin to take these trades that you know win more than they lose, it's this very liberating, very freeing feeling where you don't feel the pressure of wins or losses because you know that you're in a trade that typically wins more than it loses, and you will be relaxed and it's going to feel easy. And there's an association between following rules and a calmness in your trading. And when you break your rules, you're going to know it. And the trade's going to feel forced and you're going to get nervous and your palms are going to sweat. And this is where you find yourself moving stops and targets when you shouldn't. And this is where you find yourself exiting when everything finally goes right for you. And guys, if you go back every morning and you say what worked and what didn't, this little study, it's going to prepare you for the day. You're going to be focused on advantages, but you're also going to be focused on the things that are removing that advantage. So everything comes back to advantages. Everything comes back to having an advantage in the market. It will accelerate the learning if you go through this process. Show of hands, did anybody do that today? Did anybody go back and look at what they did yesterday and said, man, today, you know what I'm going to do? Today I'm gonna trade with momentum. Today I'm not going to trade into termination conditions. Not yet. So guys, don't skip this one. This is a good one. Yesterday was easy for me, guys. Yesterday I took 2 trades. I took 2 trades in the NASDAQ. I was up $1,300. Guys, oh, sorry, Daryl. I took 2 trades yesterday. 90% of my day, 99% of my day was not doing a darn thing. But the 2 trades that I took had amazing results. And it's a great feeling. So I went back and I looked at them and I said, you know what? I'm just going to do the same thing today. I'm not going to overtrade. I'm not going to take chances. I'm not going to do my it should dance, right? I'm just going to take the best of the best. And studying what I did the day before set me up for that success. So use the spreadsheet. The first tab is yours. It's your trade journal. The second tab, when I told you guys I'm going to teach you how to study, the second tab is the rules in green for the high probability trend trade. I want you to start training yourself to take no less than 15 pictures a day. Because 15 pictures a day is 300 pictures in a month, guys. That's 900 pictures in like 90 days of study. It's almost impossible to see the exact same image and read the exact same words and know that they go with the exact same rule 25 times in a row and not have a pretty good understanding of it. The next tab is your favorite looks. This is how you're going to build your trading plan. As you work on your entries, when somebody posts in the room and I say, man, Jeffrey Dean, that is the highest probability trend trade you could ever hope to take. You nailed every advantage. Everyone in this room should be scrambling to steal Jeffrey Dean's picture and dropping it into the personal trade setups. Make his look your look. As you learn to manage, as you begin to see patterns, as you study termination conditions, guys, you're going to begin to fill up this spreadsheet and you're going to make it look like mine. And this is where I steal y'all's brilliance. My tab, the client's trades tab, is where I've collected over 300 trades in the green section of you guys using the software, annotating advantages, taking perfect entries. Brand new users, go back and study these, and you're going to begin to see the same pattern over and over. High probability entrance sequences, management, repeating, NASDAQ for you adrenaline junkies, even termination conditions. But what happens is when you take a lot of pictures, you fill that spreadsheet and you study it, you're creating repetition that creates recognition. And that's the yellow box right here. You've got to learn the looks so that they're easy. Good morning, JW. And the more you take a picture of something, the easier it is to catch it. The more pictures you take when the market isn't moving, the slower the market appears to move. There was an old interview with Tom Brady. It was Tom Brady, and it was rookie quarterbacks in the NFL. And these rookie quarterbacks, every one of them commented on how fast the NFL is, how much faster it was than college ball. And then they break over to Tom Brady. He's like, yeah, it kind of feels like slow motion. He's like, I know what everybody's going to do. He goes, I can look up and I know where everybody's going and where my guy's going, and it's really pretty effortless. And that's where you're going, guys. You're on your way to Bradyville, and the more pictures you take, the more you put in the spreadsheet, that's what you're going to do. Practice, 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 but be willing to make mistakes, guys. Um, you want to practice the right rules, but the likelihood of that happening for the new users is slim. I still break rules, guys. I've been doing this for 4 years. So what you need to do is when you take that picture, even if you break the rules, drop it in the room, right? Annotate the rule that you broke and say, oh man, I took this short. I shouldn't have been in this short. Here's why. Because what you're doing is you're reinforcing that sticking to your rules creates that statistical advantage, puts you in the trade that you know wins more than it loses. So embrace the path, guys. You cannot, try your best. You cannot manipulate the time in this classroom because it's impossible. I don't allow it. But I've never shut anybody down and said, hey, you know what? That's too many questions about something that you don't understand. Guys, I'll run over in class. I don't mind. And we'll cover every lesson. But if you're watching and you're brand new, my first hour is kind of lectury. And we talk about these 3 rules. If I'm talking about momentum and you have a question about it, just drop it in the room, guys. We'll talk about it instantly. Same thing with a clear path. Same thing with entry areas. We'll go over it until you start to get comfortable with it and have enough of a foundation to go back and practice it. And then you come back to me. Hey, I was a little confused. I took some pictures. Am I doing this right? And I'll be like, hell yeah, good job. Virtual high five. So let's keep it easy, guys. As we get going, I'm going to flap my gums for the next 45 minutes. Interrupt me if you need to. And then the second half of class, you see a lot of people posting their charts in the room. It's analysis. The second half of the classroom is nothing but analysis. It's going through, looking at your charts, reading your annotations, and me saying, man, awesome, great, or hey, check this out, or I noticed that you entered here, but if you entered here, there'd be less risk and there'd be more profit. And it's this hand-in-hand private session where we just kind of work together getting you to where you want to be, guys. So let's talk momentum. Large chart, big crowd, guys. It must have strong trigger lines. Strong trigger lines are the magic bean. Strong trigger lines are the golden goose. Strong trigger lines are Willy Wonka's chocolate river, guys. Strong trigger lines shouldn't be ignored or fought. And strong trigger lines on the large chart, the only way to have them is to go with the trend. So it's this little safeguard in the get-go. If the background is green, your small triggers, the solid lines, and the large triggers, well, they have to be green too. If they're not, if these colors don't match, if your trigger lines don't match one another, if they don't match the background, guess what? You don't have strong triggers and rule number 1 isn't met. But if the background is green, the market's going up, small's above the large, the space in between the two, that's your strong trigger look. It's not hard to recognize. Once there's a gap between these two, you have strength, you have momentum. The odds are favorable for the market to continue up. Once the smalls break below the large, everything is red, the space is opened up there, guys, you have strong triggers. The odds are favorable for the market to continue down. You're going to hear in the room all day long, odds favorable momentum. Odds favorable momentum. I should not have had that extra cup of coffee. I'm wound. Um, when I have strong triggers up, when I have strong triggers down, guys, this is where I'm going to use that refinement chart, that small, fast chart, and I'm going to buy Fibonacci support on a smaller, faster chart, or sell Fibonacci resistance on a smaller, faster chart. Your large chart, that one slow moving bar, it's going to look like it has a tail or a wick on it. Ladies and gentlemen, you will be able to pinpoint where that tail is most likely to form, and this becomes your highest probability entrance for the for the trend trade, getting you in, buying support low, selling resistance high, and it relies on that momentum, guys, because momentum is going to push the market. Momentum has the potential to break key areas, and momentum really is going to cover some of the mistakes that we make as new users. When I have a market screaming on the large chart, up or down, it's hard to stop it. It's like a loaded down freight train. But that freight train does slow eventually, and you'll see it visually as the small triggers work their way back to the large triggers. And when they get back inside, when those large triggers kind of eat up the small triggers, we call this a weakening. Hey, good morning, Pete. This is a weakening of the large triggers. This is showing slowing down in the trend. It's a loss of momentum, and anything can happen up or down. So it's absolutely no secret if you've been in my class more than a week. I'm a fan of language, and I think that language and being very specific with what you say, it helps you understand exactly what you're looking for and what it should mean to you. So the difference between odds favorable, OFM, you're going to see it annotated on charts all day long, odds favorable momentum, and anything can happen. And again, you'll probably see this on charts, ACH. Committing to the odds favorable momentum, guys, understanding that your advantage lies when there's separation between the trigger lines, the absolute best time to sell Fibonacci resistance on the smaller, faster chart. And as you grow as a chart reader, as you become more confident in your chart reads, you'll find opportunities all the way down to this anything can happen. But your chart reading is going to allow you to make sure that other charts agree when you see that slowing, or making sure that you're managing aggressively when you have that anything can happen look. So ask yourself, where do I want to risk my money? Odds favorable or anything can happen? The answer is obvious. Now we just have to learn to be patient, to wait for it. And then when I get those anything can happen triggers, man, smacking into a key area, that's when these key areas are likely to hold, guys. That's when we find trouble getting that downtrend to continue. And that's our segue to rule number 2. But before we start talking about termination conditions, what do you say we open up a large chart and see if, just for grins, we can find some momentum? This was crude oil. This was yesterday. So Iron Mike, I did go back and I think I circled the trade we were talking about. Guys, this is all historical, but separation, strength, let's take a picture together. Let me pull up my capture software, because most of you guys have capture software. I want you learning how to use this. If you're not comfortable with it, here's your drill. Your capture software was downloaded when you got your software. So smash that big red button. And it's a click and drag tool. So I can left click and create a box like the window that I want. And when I release, it's going to let me take a picture. And once I take that picture, this is how you and I have a conversation. This is where you're going to talk about what it is that you see. For this particular picture, I'm going to draw an arrow, click and drag. I can make it long, short, whatever. Right there to that huge gap between the small and the large triggers. And I'm going to click this call out box, and I'm going to click and drag from the left down to the right. And I'm going to create a box big enough to speak my piece. And I'm going to say that the smalls are below the large, space between them, all red. This is strong triggers. And I'm not going to stop there. I'm not going to say this is strong triggers, right? Because, I mean, what good is a strong trigger? This means I have momentum. This is rule number 1 met. So, Pete, you should be able to go to the search bar on your computer and type in TechSmith, or just start typing tech, and it should come up. Let me do something real quick though. Let me go back to the software guide here, and I'm going to do two things. I'm going to give you guys the link where the how-to videos are. If some people are a little shy in class, they don't want to try and post, so you can practice after. And let me also give you the link to TechSmith Capture. It's like a 2-minute download tops to get everything 100% up and running. You can go through and do that if you can't find it on your computer. But if I'm not mistaken, it's still a part of the download package. When you download the indicators onto your computer, it does give you TechSmith Capture for free. Guys, that's a great tool. It allows you to do everything you need to do to participate in class. And then some of you do what I did, and I upgraded to Snagit, which is capture software with bells and whistles, but you'll notice that it has the same big capture button. So let me know if you need help with that, Pete. So what I've done, and guys, this is important as we go back to study. I have identified my strong triggers. I've talked about what makes that look strong triggers so that I can associate the look with the words. I've talked about the advantage associated with strong triggers, and I've reminded myself that this is what it looks like when rule number 1 is met. And guys, look, there's one of those tails right there. And I could even go one further if I was feeling a little crazy. I could say when I have strong triggers down, this is the best, all caps, right? Let's get excited about it. Time to sell Fibonacci resistance on a smaller, faster chart. Looks like a tail here. I'll use this tail to study. Guys, this is the perfect picture. So maybe you hit copy down here and you bring it to the room and you say, hey, Mark, dude, I'm working on strong triggers. Did I get this right? Because I don't ever want to miss that advantage. I don't want to miss the advantage of strength. I want to make sure that I'm reading it right, that I can recognize it. I want to understand what it means to me, because this is a third of my chart reading, and this is the advantage that gives me so much every time I'm looking for a trade. And then when I'm like, heck yeah, great job, Josh, way to find those strong triggers, you can click upload and send that picture to the cloud, the screencast cloud. And now I have a link. If I copy that link, I can drop that link in Classroom. That's 2 ways to present in the room. And guys, if you're in the pop out for the room, you can't copy paste. You have to hit Control V. I've seen that stop a lot of people from doing what they're doing. And then I'm going to take that picture and I'm going to go to my 101 folder. And what did we have? We had strong triggers, right? So I'm going to right click and I'm going to do that hyperlink and I'm going to call it strong down. And guys, I have 29 pictures of strong triggers here. You have 28 because I haven't saved this one and given it to you yet. 28 pictures of what it looks like to have momentum. 28 pictures of having the advantage that pushes the market in the direction of the trend. And guys, there it is again. There's that strength and there's that pullback. And look how the market continues up. Isn't that awesome? Let's learn to trust momentum. Holy crap, not again. Wait a minute. I should probably just go back and keep circling tails. And we'll see if there were opportunities once we learn about our entries, guys. Is everybody good? Can you give me a Y in the room if you're comfortable with the idea of strong triggers? The advantage of momentum. I'm telling you guys, this is the one you'll find ways to make money without having to even have 3 rules. It's pretty cool. But once we have those triggers, guys, we got to make sure that we're not trading into termination conditions. Don't trade into an area that's likely to stop the market. And I'm going to deviate from my normal plan a little bit. And I'm going to go to the tops and bottoms section. Termination conditions are Fibonacci-based indicators that may reverse the market based on a comparison of the area and the T3 trigger line of strength. And guys, Josh just gave you from Apex. Do not send any tickets about the current outage. They are investigating. Please keep an eye on this page. They'll let you know when it stops. Please stop all trading on Rhythmic accounts. Do not trade any accounts you think have been affected. Do not cancel. Do not remove accounts from your dashboard. There you go. So Apex has acknowledged that there's a Rhythmic problem. So if you're on Rhythmic, guys, they have told you don't trade. We'll see how well you follow directions. Thanks for that, Josh. Termination conditions are Fibonacci-based areas, guys, indicators that may stop, may reverse the market. May is a key word, and I can't stress that enough. Um, One of the things that for me it was kind of wild in the beginning is I had to learn that everything in trading is may. Everything is could. Everything is potential. Everything is might. None of it is should. None of it is will. None of it is guaranteed. So we're trading patterns that produce a statistical advantage. So the areas on the large chart that can be problematic for us are going to be these divergence high, divergence low lines, red resistance, blue support, yellow one-to-ones, and even mid-bands sometimes. And what you're going to find, guys, is you're going to know about these lines long before you get to them. And you're going to know about these lines the same way the people that control the market know about these lines. And you'll find with just a little bit of study that the people that are moving the market react at these areas. Buyers may exit their positions, sellers may enter their positions, profits are taken, fights are had, and the goal is that you don't get caught up in their decision-making process. So we're going to use the trigger lines, and that's going to let us know if these areas are likely to stop the market, if these areas have the potential to break, or if the areas are broken in our rearview mirror and no longer a concern to us. And everything starts 100% with price reaching the area, guys, because if decisions are being made at these areas, well, then we got to let them get there. Price reaches the area. And when price reaches an area, it's going to set off the decision-making process. So what you're going to do is if price reaches support, you're going to ask yourself, where are my triggers? That's all you have to do. It's really that simple. If the answer is above support, guess what? No more short trades into support. It might stop the market. It might create an untradeable bounce. It might reverse the market completely. If it does, we're going to call it a strong bottom. But what the hardest thing for us to do is right there when price reaches and the triggers remain above, I have no idea what's going to happen. But my advantage, right, we're just trading advantages, is gone. Rule number 2 is not met. And guys, it was the same thing right here. When price reached Fibonacci support and the triggers were still above it, and right there in the moment, we had to admit to ourselves, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have a crystal ball, no tarot cards, right? Zoltan can't give me that little printout. And we sit and we do absolutely nothing, guys. So I want to ask real quick, are you guys okay with that? Only the 8 ball. That's the only thing that I trust, Jen. The recipe will never change for termination conditions. If price comes up to a divergence high line and the triggers remain below, no more long trades. If price reaches resistance, yellow one-to-ones, the triggers remain below, no more long trades. Don't ever try to alter it, right? Make it easy. If price trades down to yellow one-to-ones, the triggers remain above, no more short trades. Same thing true at support. Same thing true at divergence low lines. Let me give you guys some pretty cool pictures for your spreadsheet if you felt inclined to give yourself an awesome study tool. So if I can't trade into an area, the triggers are above it, when is it safe? When is the path is clear? When my small triggers and my large triggers get below the area in question, guys. In this case, both small and large break below support. Support is now resistance. The area is broken, and my path remains clear until I reach the next area. And then once I reach the next area, then the whole process starts over again. So no triggers, no trade, both triggers, clear path. And notice that when I have that clear path, I also have odds favorable momentum. Well, shoot, that's the first 2 rules. And all of you brilliant students just pinpointed exactly where the top of that tail was most likely to form. You entered that short trade and you rode that wave of momentum all the way down to Fibonacci support. Congratulations. Great trade, ladies and gentlemen. Very rules based. Is everybody comfortable with that? And I'm telling you guys, I'm not smart enough to overthink things. Price reached a divergence high to the absolute tick and started pushing down. Pretty awesome, right? Support and the triggers don't break. Support and the triggers don't break. What else do we have? There's a divergence high. Stop the market cold in its tracks. Resistance, nothing got through. Resistance and a mid-band, nothing got through. Divergence low. What is a fib? Great question. This is where I have to admit that I'm not smart though, Rob. But I do know how they come to be. So let me share that with you. It's not even that it's a percentage of something, Rob. It is a reflection of thousands of calculations. So when we talk fibs, and guys, this I'm telling you, when you realize your brother is a freaking genius, it's pretty wild. So Rob, every time the market goes up and down, right? Every time there's a pivot, every time there's an up, a down, an up, a down, an up, a down, an up, and down. Each one of these, if I were to do it by hand, creates fib levels, right? And there was a time where people would take 2 or 3 hours before the market opened to find those fib levels, to go back, to measure them, and to hope that they came up with the right levels. Well, your software, thank you, John Novak, goes back and measures every move in the market. And it doesn't only do it on a day, right, or an hour. It goes back 10 days, and it measures every swing in the market for 10 days. And it says, well, that's probably not enough. Let me go to higher time frames. Let me go to lower time frames. Let me create synthetic time frames. And let me put in thousands upon thousands of calculations, creating these Fibonacci areas, retracements. And then the algorithm comes in, and it begins to weigh them and sort them and give them power. And man, this is where the concentration is. And from all of these measurements, Rob, you get these pretty little red lines. You get these pretty little blue lines. Those are how fibs come to be, guys. These are a reflection of the psychology in the market, of the ups, the downs, and the market repeats itself, and psychology repeats itself. But they're areas, which is why we call them areas, right? If it took 5,000 calculations to create these blue lines, well, then it may go a tick or two below, and it may stop a tick or two short. So that's what a fib is. A fib is a mathematical equation and an algorithm that's put together by my brother that says, hey, Rob, this is where low might be. Let's use some momentum indicators to determine if it's actually gonna hold, or if it's broken, or, and here's the next one, if it has the potential to break. When your small triggers smash through an area, and guys, I want you to embrace that word smash. But your large triggers are lagging behind. 50% of your triggers make it through the area, 50% do not. Guess what we call this look? Give you one guess. It revolves around the numbers. It's a 50-50 look. 50% are through, 50% are not. What does this mean to me? A 50-50 means that the Fibonacci area has the potential, guys, it's just potential, to break based on the strength of the triggers. So the area is not broken. And if the area is not broken, it's not high probability, guys. This is going to be your first medium probability trade. The area isn't broken, but with all that momentum, it has the potential to break. And it's breaking because of the momentum in the market. So don't skip out on rule number one. Look at how it's smashed through. Don't skip out on learning rule number one, because it's going to make it difficult for you to understand when areas have the potential to break. So three options, guys. If price reaches resistance and the triggers remain below, you've reached a termination condition. The best chance of keeping yourself out of trouble says don't do anything, not in the moment. Wait and see what the reaction is going to be. If your small triggers smash through with a boatload of momentum, that area has the potential to break. But guys, it's just potential. It is dinner, it's dancing, it's a movie, it's hand holding, it's walking to the front door, and you're not guaranteed the good night kiss until your lips touch, right? The potential's there, everything looks good, but it may not happen. Smalls through, large through, odds favorable. Guys, pinpoint that entry. That's the best of the best. And Daryl, you're absolutely right. Sit on your hands. It's okay to do nothing. How much does it cost to do nothing, guys? Not a damn thing, right? How much does it cost to trade into an area and have that area stop the market cold? Maybe $250, $300. And this next picture reminds you, Daryl, this is your sit on your hands picture. I'm a huge fan of this picture. And this picture is the same reason I didn't have a trade this morning. The sellers are in control. They're screaming to the downside. And man, they're angry. Look at that momentum. And when they smash through support, but when they hit these yellow one-to-ones, everyone in this room has the ability to say, price reached an area, my triggers remained above this area of support, I'm not going to take that short trade. That's your termination condition. Well, it creates an untradeable bounce almost instantly to the tick. And the market rockets up straight into resistance and all the triggers remain below. And that's a termination condition. And then from there, what happens? From that termination condition, it moves back down, right? And as it moves down, we notice that the trigger lines don't match one another, right? The colors aren't there. And we keep saying to ourselves, man, my rules aren't met here. And my rules aren't met back into resistance. And my rules aren't met without the colors matching. And I don't have a clear path. And I don't have odds favorable momentum. And when I finally get the momentum, I go head first into a mid-band. And my large triggers are a full bar away, which means that mid-band is behaving as a termination condition. This is what we call the gap theory. We'll find examples of it today. And there's just nothing for me to do, guys, for like 45 minutes. Absolutely, Rob, because they're different charts. So your one-to-ones on a large chart are based off of swings on a large chart. Your one-to-ones on a small chart are based off of swings on the small chart. And we'll go back and I'll show you how these are made as well. But here's the cool thing, Rob, is you can know why they are, right? You can know what causes them. You can, you can understand all the mathematics that go into creating this pretty stuff, and you're not going to be a better trader for it. If you understand that termination conditions can stop the market, no matter what creates these one-to-ones, when I hit them and the triggers remain above, I'm not trading into them. No matter what created this fib, when the smalls are above and the large are below, it has the potential to break, and there might be an opportunity for me to take a trade. Guys, you don't have to build a watch to be a time teller. But one-to-ones, Rob, are in the moment fibs. And because they're from unique to the time frame, they won't line up on the large and small. I want you guys to see what happened after the 90% here. Your patience, your adherence to rules kept you out of the mess for about 45 minutes, and then it gave you momentum, and then it gave you a clear path, and each and every one of you said, holy crap, let me pinpoint where that tail is most likely to form using a smaller, faster chart. And you just took the highest probability trend trade, and that momentum carried you all the way up to the promised land. And guys, that's about a $450 trade. Doing absolutely nothing is your best chance without a statistical advantage. And Muser, I don't know if he's in here, he said once, he goes, when I stop trying to create trades, when I stop trying to fabricate trades, when I stop trying to chase the money always seems to come to me. And I'm paraphrasing, but guys, it's what you don't do that's going to let you determine how much of that 450 you get to keep. It's the money you don't give away when the rules aren't met that's going to keep your account growing, taking these best of the best trades. Um, and that's the hardest part about being a trader, is doing absolutely nothing, guys. You're a professional waiter. Everything. No, Rob, we're not even talking about management right now. We're only talking about whether or not we have a clear path. But Rob, what do you think? If you were in a short position and you hit these yellow one-to-ones and maybe your triggers were getting weak, right? What do you think is the easiest way to build revenue? To hope that it breaks or to simply get paid and wait for your next opportunity? If you understand right where the market is likely to go, is there any reason to not take an exit? And it could have broken. And Rob, this is the hard part, is you have to be okay. If you were in a short position and you exited right here, you have to be okay that it went here. And you can't change your plan based on the one time that it broke and you didn't get paid. Because everything we do is a statistical advantage. Everything we do is a pattern that repeats itself, right? And Rob, what you'll find is you'll get to a point, if I'm a brand new user, all right, and we're going to talk management just for a second. If I'm a brand new user and I hit Fibonacci support, I can't think of any reason not to get paid, right? And then Rob, when I grow with the software and I'm a chart reader, check this out. I might say, I'm short, but look at those triggers. And I know, because I've studied it, strong triggers can break areas. I'll give it a shot. So you progress, guys, as you become a chart reader. You go from, I get paid at a line because lines can create problems, to I understand momentum and the potential of breaking. Maybe I'll keep a little risk on it, and we'll see what happens. So Rob, you're going to grow. I like getting paid at lines. I'm a huge fan of getting paid at lines because my goal as a trader is to get paid. All right, so I'm going to ask the room real quick. And Mike, I'm not going to tell you how to trade, but make sure that it's smooth before you risk your money on it. Simulator is a great way to make sure that connection is going to stay connected. Lines on the large chart might create problems. Lines on the large chart are where decisions are made, guys. Can you give me a Y in the room if you're okay with that? Oh, right on. Is everybody okay with the idea? Look at the untradeable bounce right off of the line, maybe, right? And now we get into it. Guys, just start looking for lines. And say to yourself, I don't have to trade into them. I'm better than that. I've got Nexgen. Sometimes the market turns from nowhere. Sometimes you have odds favorable momentum, a clear path, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to take that high probability trend trade, and the market just falls out the other direction, and that's okay. There is one termination condition that you'll see on a small chart first. This is the only time I will let the small chart tell me that rule number 2 isn't met. And it's 3 divergences in the same price range. Divergence is a loss of momentum, guys. That's all it is. When the market goes down and up, creates a pivot, right about the 3rd bar, your software runs a calculation. That's when the math work is done. And if momentum doesn't follow price, you're going to see a negative number and a light blue line from a low or a magenta line from a high. The negative number is a byproduct of the calculation. Don't give that number any strength. Don't give it any value. Just know that if you see a negative number in a line off of that pivot, there was a loss of momentum. That's all it is. If I get 3 losses of momentum in the same price range, and when I say the same price range, I'm going to use the same recipe for breaking areas that I will for breaking divergences. If the small and the large get below this line, it's out of the equation. If I get 3 divergences, no worries, Daryl. Patch us all in. It'll be fun. What are we selling today? I got this. Three divergences in the same price range, guys, it may terminate the trend. There's that magical word may again. It might terminate the trend. It certainly could terminate the trend. So my advantage is gone. I no longer have a clear path. Same thing true up top. Three magenta lines. It may terminate the trend. No more long trades, right? I don't have a clear path. Guys, this look is going to save your bacon a lot. This look happens on every chart. I don't care if it's a big chart, small chart, range chart, month chart. Thank you for that, Mike. Pending home sales in a minute, guys. You're going to see it on the small chart first because the large chart's a slow moving chart. So this at a low and this at a high, guys, is going to help you identify when that large chart's changing direction on you, but it's too slow to give you that information. These three divergences become more powerful when you end up with anything can happen triggers. Those weekend triggers, the same lesson from rule number one. Have you noticed how rule number one keeps coming back into termination conditions? There's a reason it's rule number one. Anything can happen triggers and three divergences makes it more powerful. When that final pivot is higher than the previous at a low or lower than the previous at a high, it becomes more powerful still, guys. It's a head and shoulders pattern. So we use lines on the large chart to tell us where problems are. The only time lines on a small chart are going to come into play is when we use them for that awesome entrance, for that best of the best high probability trade entrance. So termination conditions. Are you guys cool? Large chart, right? Gosh, I love the large chart. The large chart. Let's use this right here for an example. The background is green and the large chart says up. That's the easiest lesson that you're ever going to get as an Nexgen user. Green means up, red means down. If you're colorblind, I want you to send me a message and I'll show you exactly how to determine whether it's up or down using trigger lines. We have momentum. Small's above the large, larger green, wide, space between the two. Large chart is defined momentum. Rule number one is met. The advantage is in place. The large chart has not reached Fibonacci resistance, but it has cleared the previous area. My path is clear via rule number two. Can you guys give me a Y in the room if you see that it's time to look for an entry based on the large chart? The large chart's done its job, guys. It's given us everything we need to say it's time to enter the market. So we're going to go to the small chart. Guys, we're going to let the small crowd, those yahoos, we're going to let them fight everything the large crowd says. And we love the small crowd, guys, because the small crowd is what allows us to have these rules where you're going to pinpoint with amazing precision where the market is most likely to continue. So rule number three says you're going to use a limit order. You're going to wait for the market to come to you. And you're going to have that limit order at an area. Fibs, mid-bands, yellow 1-to-1s. Up here for termination conditions, those lines, man, they can ruin a good time. To find an entry, they're going to give us a place to bounce. But the thing is we want those areas to be inside of triggers. Inside of those moving averages, guys. So we're going to let the small crowd give us a shove. And they're going to give us a shove back to an area, fibs, mid-bands, yellow 1-to-1s. And we're going to insist that that area is inside of what we call favorable large triggers. Guys, these triggers are moving averages. That's all they are. And look how often price pulls back to the moving average. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the moving average from the large chart and we're going to put it on the small chart. So you'll see a large trigger and a synthetic trigger. The synthetic is just the large chart, large trigger. And when these are overlapping, two snakes riding piggyback, one on top of the other, tight, we're going to call this favorable large triggers. Favorable large triggers takes two correction points and combines them into one, so it adds precision. We don't expect triggers to stop the market, so we're going to insist that there is a fib, a midband, or a yellow 1-to-1, or any combination of the three, even better if they're overlapping, inside of those favorable large triggers. And guys, you will pinpoint with unbelievable accuracy where the market is most likely to continue when you have areas inside of favorable large triggers. When those trigger lines begin to split, when the large and the synthetic break apart, well, you've just doubled your correction spot where we expect price to come back to, and it puts a little guesswork in it. It decreases the accuracy. It increases the risk So split triggers, as we're going to call them, kind of takes away the advantage of entry precision. Favorable large triggers, rock star status, guys. You'll be floored at how you snipe entries. And there's a little process to do it. We don't trade tails. We've gone back and circled tails, but we don't trade tails, guys. If you wait for this tail to form, the market is long gone. This tail becomes that area inside of favorable large triggers if it's a high probability trend trade. So in order to pinpoint exactly where that tail is most likely to form, there's an order of operations. It begins with the reversal bar. On your small chart, that small crowd's going to start fighting, and that's the reversal bar, that red bar after all the green bars. The reversal bar is not the entry for the high probability trend trade. The reversal bar signals the beginning of the fight from that opposing force. So at the time of the reversal bar, I want every one of you to draw a box around your trigger lines. If they're tight one on top of the other, it's going to be a pretty small box. If they're split and wide, where's that picture? That's going to be a huge box for that potential correction point. So we want it tight. And then once you draw that box, I want you to look inside of the box you just drew. Red box is from the top of the triggers to the bottom of the triggers. Let's find those areas. Let's find those areas that create a bounce. The trigger lines are not my entry. My entry comes from areas inside of favorable large triggers, fibs, midbands, yellow 1-to-1s. This blue box, this light blue shaded box, this represents the point where the market is most likely to continue. My limit order, I'm going to right click and I'm going to wait for the market to come to me, and when it smacks into my limit order just above that highest point of support, I'm in a trade. I'm in a trade with momentum. I'm in a trade with a clear path. And I'm in a trade because I waited for the point where the market is most likely to continue. When you piece the two together, it looks like this. The large chart never blinks. The large chart continued to stay up. The large chart continued to say momentum. The large chart continued to have a clear path. Look what happened on the small chart in this one bar. The small chart had one divergence, not a deal breaker. It takes 3 divergences to ruin my good time. The small chart had the small triggers turn against me. I don't care. This loss of momentum is just what I need to get back to my areas. And the small chart pinpointed at the areas inside of favorable large triggers exactly where the market was most likely to continue. And if I circle this tail on the large chart, it should line up with an area inside of favorable large triggers on the small chart. This is how you guys are going to study. You're going to go back historically and circle tails when the rules are met, and you're going to see what it looks like on the small chart. And guys, this is your entry. You're going to teach yourself to not worry about the lines outside of the triggers. You're going to teach yourself to not try to get in at the low point, but rather the high point, because the large chart has momentum and a clear path. And you're going to realize that we trade futures, which means even if the market's going down, we can still capitalize. We still have to wait for the reversal bar, and that's not our entry. And we still have to find our trigger lines, and hitting trigger lines is not our entry. And we can still identify areas inside of the trigger lines. And in this case, there is one line, a midband. And that midband represents the point where the market is most likely to continue. And your limit order goes 2 ticks below it, and this becomes your entry for the highest probability trend trade. You're also going to learn to tune out those areas beyond the correction point. They don't fit into the equation, guys. Your advantage is gone up here. And when you understand where the market is likely to continue, you understand where the market shouldn't go. So your first stop, your initial stop placement will go 4 to 5 ticks above all the trigger lines, that correction point, above those areas. Because if the small crowd pushes beyond that best of the best spot, you've lost your edge. Your advantage is gone. You no longer want to be in that trade. Is anybody besides me, when they first started trading, said, man, losers suck. I hate losers. Losers are horrible. They make me feel bad. Losers make me well up a little bit. Losers make me yell at the dog. Losers make me question everything in life. Guys, the reality is anything that wins 70 to 80% of the time is mathematically obligated to lose 20 to 30% of the time. Losing trades, losing the correct trade, is a cost of doing business. And this is why we focus on the high probability trend trade so much in the beginning, guys, because what it does is it begins to build confidence in the idea that if you have these three advantages, this is the pattern that repeats itself. This is the pattern that wins more than it loses. This is the pattern that creates a statistical advantage. And it opens up the door for you to be okay with it not working every now and then. So I want you guys to understand that losses are a normal part of the positive equity curve. Take the right losses. Don't give them away by breaking your rules. And once the market does everything it's supposed to do, you get that confirmation bar, that reversal bar the other direction, you'll be able to reduce your risk a couple ticks above that bar, a couple ticks below that bar. And it's not uncommon to see you guys enter the perfect high probability trend trade, one of those trades that were destined for failure. You're not in control of that. Move your stop 2 ticks below that reversal bar and take like a $30 or $40 hickey instead of hoping and wishing and wanting that market to do what you wanted it to do and taking a $200 to $300 loss. And guys, everything that you do for the first 20 days should revolve around finding the entry, because the entry is what sets you up for success, guys. And if you look for the entry, you might get confused as a new user. So I'm going to show you how to make it even easier, and I'm going to give you a little gift here. This is Chart Reading 101, guys. This is going to turn you into a chart reader. This is the fastest path to recognizing these advantages so that you can turn them into a trade. Take 25 pictures each. Strong triggers, so you know what the advantage looks like. Weak triggers, so you know what it doesn't look like. Clear path, so you know what it looks like. Termination conditions, so you understand what it doesn't look like, guys. And even take pictures of that 50-50 look, making sure you understand that potential, because I'm going to give you a plan to capitalize. And go back and find those, circle those tails, find those entries, guys, but don't just take the picture. The same way we did it earlier, talk about the whys. Why is it strong triggers? What is the look? What's the advantage? What rule does it associate itself with? And if you do that, what you're going to find is that it becomes damn near impossible to miss a strong trigger, to understand that advantage. And you're going to learn to develop trust in that advantage. You've got to do it and learn these individually, guys. Go through and get real comfortable with strength and say, man, I'm so good at this look that once I have it, I'm going to understand whether or not I have a clear path or a termination condition. And when this is good, I'm going to minimize my large chart and I'm going to go find that entry because I know what they look like. I just have to piece them together, right? And the easiest way to do that is circle a tail and come back. And did that tail come back to support inside of favorable large triggers? Well, it closed to the correction point. My area was hovering in between. Maybe I wait for a reversal bar for confirmation. Let's see if we can find another tail. Middle of the night, there's not as many. Man, they're making me work for it, huh? There we go. There's a tail with the potential to break. Let me put a circle on it. Let me scroll back. Directly to resistance inside of favorable large triggers. If you held your stop, you got paid all the way down. And what's cool is that's one divergence, area inside of triggers, that's an entry. That's only two divergences, area inside of triggers, and then nothing happens to say this trade isn't going to go down. Large chart never blinks. These are fluctuations on a small chart that you're going to learn to tune out by trusting that the large chart leads the way. Look what happens when we put one bar around it. It's easy to get caught up in the nonsense. So understand that your small chart's an entry chart, and there are exit conditions, but if they're not met, keep your faith in the large chart, guys. Keep your faith in the idea that strength and momentum typically wins out over little small crowd fluctuations. So I'm going to give you guys this right here. I would encourage each and every one of you to go back, do it. It's overwhelming, right? It's 245 pictures. Start today and do one picture of each, and let me know how that works out. Put it in the classroom. Let's look at it. Make sure that you have it right. Or you could take this, the high probability trend trade checklist, and you could make sure that you have momentum and that it's not weak triggers. And you can identify termination, potential to break, or if it's broken. And the same thing with windows of opportunity, guys. So this gives you the ability to break down the individual parts, to look at them as in example pictures so that you can create awareness. I'm also going to give you a high probability trend trade checklist that you can print out, that you can put on your desktop. You can take these rules, write them on your chart every time you take a trade. You can take these rules and start talking to yourself in terms of advantages and make sure that you actually have them. Never had anybody use this checklist, guys, to the letter and do worse than 70% winners. And I've had a lot of people go after this checklist just trying to prove me wrong. So that just got dropped in the room as well. And then finally, I'm going to give you guys one more thing, and this is the KISS plan. And this is only the first half. I changed it up a little bit. This is the KISS plan, the Keep It Simple plan for the high probability trend trade, guys. So this is your stepping stone. A lot of you are going to say, man, it's too boring to only wait for a high probability trend trade. It's too boring to win 70% of my trades. It's too boring to create confidence through the memory of success. I want you to be okay being bored. I want you to learn to be a chart reader. So this is your stepping stone, guys. This sets you up for everything else. And this is going to optimize your chances of success with the high probability trend trade. And then through simulation, through study, through class feedback, through continuous practice, you'll be empowered. Look at this. You're getting empowered, guys, to craft a plan tailored to your personal goals based on your ability, your experience reading the indicators. That's the AI-generated way of saying, guys, when you're a chart reader, you're going to see a lot of opportunities in the market, and you're going to learn how to go through it systematically to create a plan that suits your needs. And Ron, amen. Only boring people get bored. So, your simple plan for consistency. It begins with don't fight the large chart. It's easy to say, don't fight the large chart. Guys, this is John Novak's best-selling book, How to Commit Financial Suicide in One Easy Step. Warning signs that your friends are in trouble. They're trading against strong triggers. They're fighting momentum. They're going head first into traffic on the highway. Chapter 2, warning signs your friends aren't paying attention, is they're trading in determination conditions. They're relying on hope. I hope that area breaks. I hope that brick wall doesn't stop my car. So if you can do this, brand new users, you're like 70% ahead of the game already. And then you have to define your entry. Notice that your is all caps. Notice that your is highlighted, it's underlined. This is going to become your plan, guys. It's not going to be the Nexgen KISS plan. It's going to be the Kenny KISS plan, the Rob KISS plan, the Surgeon KISS plan. This is TLC's KISS plan. And this is your stepping stone, but make it yours. And if you own these rules, you'll find that you can keep yourself accountable to them, right? I don't care about Mark's entries. Mark isn't paying my bills. This is Iron Mike's high probability trend trade. And in order for Iron Mike to enter the market with his rules met, these things have to happen. And then Mike's like, well, shit, I'm not going to break my rules. I'm Iron Mike. That's not cool. And once you define this entry, once you get good at this entry, and let me show you a little something here. Go click all these links, guys. It's going to pay huge dividends in recognition. Once you enter, you've got to do something with that great entry. This is where fear really kicks in. This is where your emotions are going to grab hold of you and shake you by the lapels, guys, because now you have something to lose. In the beginning, you were just finding a way in. Now you have something to lose. But the cool thing is the same way your entry was very mechanical, the same way your entry was if-then, right? If I have momentum, then I look for no terminations. And if I have no terminations, then I wait for a pullback to areas inside of favorable large triggers. Well, your management can be just as mechanical, guys. And this very mechanical management is dependent on your ability to find the area where the market is most likely to continue. Because if you don't know where it could continue from, you don't know where it shouldn't go. So don't bypass entries. Great entries create manageable trades. So once I'm in, my stop goes where the market shouldn't go, and there's nothing for me to do. I'm either going to get stopped out. That's that cost of doing business, right? But I'm getting stopped out on the perfect trade. It doesn't even phase me. I dust off, I say next, I wait for the next opportunity. But with all those advantages in place, I'm more likely to get a reversal bar in the direction of the trend. I'm more likely to get that bar that says, hey, guess what, Mark? You nailed it. Great trade. Awesome entry. Confirmation. Let's go 2 ticks above that bar. Let's reduce our risk dramatically. And they might still come get you, but you know what? It's out of your hands. Sit on your hands. Do nothing. Do nothing. Either get stopped out or let it hit the first target. And if it hits the first target, guys, that's $100. The $100 trade. $100. Mark, I can't get rich on $100. Mark, $100 is nothing. Nobody ever made $1,000,000 by making $100 first. Or did they? $100, guys. If this is the best you do every day, that's a $500 week. That's a $2,000 month. That's a $24,000 year from the crappiest outcome of the highest probability trend trade ever. You're $100 richer. The confidence is there. The money's in the bank. You're feeling good. You're learning to trust your indicators. You're learning to trust your ability to read. You're excited to post this in the room because it shows victory. Children will sing songs about you. And you're going to move your stop to break even. Zero risk. Which makes it easier for you guys to hold to the second target. And if you hold for the second target, guys, it's only $200 off in the distance. Which means that from 3 advantages, 2 charts, you freaking nailed where the market was about to bounce, and you just made $300. And $300, if that's the best you can do every day, is a $72,000 year. And guys, that doesn't suck. That's better than most of America from one high probability trade giving you the best probability outcome. Things that you can't worry about. I can't worry about that fib because areas are determined on the large chart. I can't get spooked by those small triggers turning against me because momentum is defined on the large chart. And man, if I get caught up in these little fluctuations on a smaller, faster, insignificant entry chart, I'm going to get stopped out of the perfect trade because, guys, there's cameras everywhere. They know where you scared people are going to put your stops. They're going to tap them and go. And I've seen it a million times. So in the beginning, let it be simple. Let it be focused. Let the market play out. You're on simulator. You can't go broke with monopoly money. Study your entries, practice your management, and guys, you're going to get there. You're going to get there. I will, and I'm going to talk about Mike's, but first let me ask, are there any questions about the high probability trend trade? Guys, if you want 300 examples of advantages, look in the green section. There's your management, and you know what's cool is after you do this super simple management, you're going to start to learn when it's okay to hold for bigger moves based on large chart strength. And those $300 trades turn into bigger, better trades. Fill out your spreadsheet. Ask for help. Raise your hand. So my dad, I like to tell stories, guys. Every time I visit my parents, and I want you to picture my dad. He's a 74-year-old man that grew up in Chicago. And he is, if you go hungry, it's your own damn fault. That's what he says every time I go in. Mark, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? I'm like, Dad, I'm cool. I don't ask you for everything. He's like, if you go hungry, it's your own damn fault. If you don't ask for help, it's your own fault, guys. If you don't ask questions, it's your own fault that you're not understanding this. If you're not taking pictures, it's your fault, right? It's not Nexgen's fault. We know what we're doing and we teach you how to do it. Get those repetitions. Put the effort in. Let your results be a reflection of your efforts, of your willingness to ask for help, guys, because I love helping. I hope you can tell that. I hope you can tell how passionate I am about giving you guys everything I got to make sure that you get to where you want to be. Purple one-to-ones. And let me read Mike's, and then we'll go into the full shebang. Mike said he shorted oil earlier, didn't see the small purple 1-to-1s on the 13.2 chart, and the market reversed. Ugh. Got to really check the whole chart. Tried moving your entry when you saw them too late. Fed the machine, waiting for the A plus setup. Mike, will you do me a favor? Will you do me a favor and take a picture? Is that it? Is this the trade where you didn't see them? You never reached them, brother. You never reached those purple 1-to-1s. Those purple 1-to-1s are as significant as a flat earther's theory. If you don't reach the area, man, the decision process isn't in effect. Guess what? Those mean nothing. Does that make sense? When price reached the mid band, the decisions were made. When price reached the 1-to-1s, the decisions were made. Dude, if I don't reach them, if I haven't hit this red fib yet, I'm going to change my language. I'm going to call it a target. Does that make sense? So I want you to see something really cool, Mike. And guys, this is for everybody. But you were short. So what? You still didn't reach them. I'm saying, here, so let me do this. Guess what? The pink 1-to-1s, brother, are a target. You haven't hit them. So let's go through the simple process. You said weak, odds favorable momentum, right? So what are you saying? Momentum is slowing. You still have momentum, though. But it's still cool. So rule number 1 is in place. Are you good with that, Mike? Okay, let's go to the next one. Price did not reach an area. Guess what? You have a clear path. Rule number 2 is in effect. So far, I feel very comfortable telling you that this is a beautiful look for a trade. Do you understand how the pink 1-to-1s don't come into play because price didn't reach them? That's a very important lesson for you guys. And I'm going to show you another example of that. So Mike, let's go to rule number 3. Rule number 3 says that I'm going to sell a pullback at an area inside of triggers. Okay, I'm going to sell a pullback at an area inside of triggers. So there's the beginning of my pullback. Let me draw my box. There's my triggers. Son of a... Man, Mike! There's no areas. So what I have to say here, and this is pretty cool, guys, and I want you to do this. So what I have to say, Mike, is I have to say rules 1 and 2 are met, and I love it. It's awesome. What a great look. Are you comfortable with that read? Guys, is everybody comfortable with that read on the large chart? I love everything about this on the large chart. I think there is no reason not to look for an entry. And then the second thing that you have to say is I don't have rule 3 met. My areas, my auras, my areas on the wrong side of the triggers. But Mike, what's the rule, brother? Is it the triggers or is it the areas inside of triggers? And I promise you, once you start to believe this idea that the rules are worded very specifically for a reason, all it does, Mike, is it says, this isn't my best entry, right? And that's it. And I'm going to show you something real quick. I have momentum. I have a clear path. I don't have a rules-based entry. So instantly, I already know for that high probability trend trade, I have 60% of my rules met. 30% of them are not. That's all. That's all I'm saying right now. And it doesn't mean that there's not a trade to be had, Mike. But let me give you an awesome little idea. If you start believing wholeheartedly in the idea that it takes the three things to create a trade, what happens is you might say, I'm still going to take this short. I'm convinced that with this look, the market's more likely to go down than up, and you'd be 100% right. And let me show you how this changes real quick. What you do is because there's no areas inside of favorable large triggers, this is your final part of the equation. I'm going to insist that the market give me a reversal bar so I don't have to guess where it may bounce. Pretty cool, right? So right here you say, I'm going to insist. I've got momentum. I've got a clear path. And I've even got areas, but they're on the wrong side of triggers. Let me just wait for a little confirmation. Let me have it bounce off of that area. Let me get a reversal bar. And what's that going to do for you? Hell, it's going to give you that established risk. It's going to push the market in the direction of everything. And then maybe if you're scared of these one-to-ones, what a great place to take profits. But these one-to-ones are at 17. Your entry was at 37. You still had $200 worth of profit before impact. Does that make sense, Mike? I love this picture because this is one of those pictures that really helps us embrace the words and how if it's just not right, you got to say, man, let's insist on confirmation. Let me make it give me a reversal bar because it could be the fib, right? But it could also be the mid-band, and it could also be the one-to-ones, and it could also be resistance, and it may never be anything at all, ever. And I want you to see something, Mike. You felt? Language is powerful, isn't it? All right. What do you think, Mike? Does that look like a short to you? And this is my brother's trick that he used to pull on me. There's nothing about that that says go short, right? I know. No, I want you to see where you got stopped out. You got stopped out after 4 bars of odds favorable momentum against you. That's a lot of risk, my friend. So I'm going to do this one more time on the correction point because I think this is a great lesson. If I expect the market to come back to these triggers, well, the market's already inside of those triggers. The market's already at the correction point. If I expect it to bounce off an area inside of those triggers, once those areas are on the wrong side of the correction point, and I think this is a good term to use, my areas are on the wrong side of where I expect price to correct. So what that means is that any of these areas on the wrong side could present a bounce. And I just don't know which one it's going to be. I just don't know. So I will insist on that down bar. I'll insist on a reversal bar off the area. And then I'll take a shot at it. But that little bit of understanding that the advantage of having a bounce point inside of the correction area is gone, what it does is it just creates this little bit of patience for you. And it makes you really demand that the market give you exactly what you need to get in. So everything is down here. And I don't know where this was on the large chart. So let's use this for example, Mike. The market's coming down, right? There's a ton of strength, but it's into trouble. And I notice that my triggers are split. I have 2 correction points. I'll show you how to do that. Do you see how I have 2 areas where the market may continue? It might bounce off, and it might go up here. So I wait for that reversal bar right here. And let me show you. So if I click above if I click above price, come on. Oh, I don't have an account up or anything. Oh, no wonder. Guys, I'm having rhythmic problems too. Um, my account's not up. Hold on just 1 second. Let me change my connection over to my live account real quick and let it repopulate. So Mike, when I'm waiting for the pullback to an area, I'm going to use a limit. When I am relying on a reversal bar, I'm going to use a stop order, and I'll show you the difference between the two. So let me get this up real quick. It's got to calculate. And guys, this is a good lesson for everybody. If you start talking to yourselves in terms of the three advantages, what happens is you start finding you're a little more picky on what it takes to get you in. So Mike, let's say right here, right? I've got split triggers and a termination, but I'm hell-bent on a short. And I am insistent that I'm going to go short. But I want a reversal bar for confirmation. And guys, I'm not saying this is a trade because that's a bad thing. I can right-click on my chart and I can put sell stop. And what sell stop means is that this bar has to come down and produce a reversal bar to get me in the market. We'll see if it does it.
Order filled.
There we go. When it made the reversal bar, it stopped me into the market. My risk is already established. My targets are where they need to be. And what it does is it says, I want confirmation. I believe this market is going down despite termination conditions and the gap theory and a bad top. So I'm going to make it give me a reversal bar to get me in. As opposed to saying, well, it's split and it might bounce from here. I'll put a limit order. Does that make sense?
Order canceled.
And if you waited for the reversal bar because you were willing to take a shot, your risk is established, all that good stuff. And it forces the confirmation a little bit. Awesome. And you can do longs that way as well. So what I'll do, and I'll show you a picture of it. I use this in the NASDAQ. Is on the NASDAQ, if I get divergence on the high, I insist on a reversal bar to get me in. So if I never get that reversal bar, I never take the trade. If I never get the confirmation, then I just don't take the trade, and it keeps me from getting run over a lot. And the same thing is true here. When it could retrace back up to those large triggers, but you want to give it a shot, but you want that confirmation, that's a great way to do it. Awesome. So guys, that's the first hour. Well, it's the first hour and a half. I'm going to leave you, so you would use a buy. If I wanted to go long, I would hit the buy stop. So if this turns into a reversal bar up, then I'll be in a long position. I'll be in a long position against momentum and direction and against everything. But yeah, that's exactly how you do it. So practice that on Sim for a little bit. Guys, I'm going to take about 5 minutes. When I come back, we're going to start clicking on charts and all that good stuff. We're going to talk about advantages and kind of see what the market's giving you and what it isn't. And when I come back, we're going to have some fun. I'll see you guys in 5. All right, y'all, let's get back to work here. So I'm going to scroll to the very top of the chat box. I just want you guys to see this. I've got to scroll up to get to your pictures. So if I miss a question, guys, if I ever miss a question or a chart, do me a favor and let me know. Just go, hey, Mark, I think you missed me here. It's never on purpose, but it happens sometimes. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about as well. Let me see where we have some. Man, we say a lot, don't we? Here we go. We're gonna start. Yesterday we got some. Gerard, I want to take a look at your chart. And one thing I notice is, yes, you've added an extra chart, right? You've got a 21.3 on crude oil. And your 21.3 said, hey, guess what? Odds favorable momentum. And that's awesome. But that's a huge time frame. Do you guys remember the refinement process that we talked about? The difference between why did you think your 9 a.m. Pacific time call was 9 a.m. Central time? I, because you're probably looking at my clock, Daryl. I mean, actually, mine is Eastern. So 9 a.m. Pacific is 11 a.m. here. Oh, you're in Texas, not California? Okay. Um, I don't know. Who was your call with? Are they in California? Amazon. One of the things that when I had calls, so I was on the West Coast for a year teaching class. And if I put something in my calendar, like, and it needed to be Texas time, it screwed me all up and I missed them. So I don't know. I guess you have to figure out where they're at and what they do. Um, when you, okay, so Gerard, you use it to talk yourself out of a close a trade out of a fear and loss. So I notice that you don't have a 13-2. Why are you running a 10-2 and not a 13-2? There you go, Daryl. So you've added the 21, totally cool. So you just went and changed it? Right on. So the 10-2, Gerard, is my entry chart for the NASDAQ. When I trade the NASDAQ, my large chart, because the NASDAQ is so fast, because the NASDAQ is so volatile, my large chart on the NASDAQ is a 34.5. Is a 34.5. My entry chart on the NASDAQ is a 10-2. So the way you're set up is 13-2 and 5-1, and that's the best of the best. 10-2 is just a little bit fast, but let's see at 9:55. At 9:55, you had on a 10-2, you had momentum and a clear path, but you had divergence from 1-to-1s. You had no areas inside of favorable large triggers. And then you got a second higher divergence that took you out. So let's see if we can do a little example here. This is crude oil. I'm going to build a 21 chart real quick. And guys, I don't disagree with using other time frames. But I do firmly believe that if you're going to add a chart, it's really important that you don't let it override your decision making. Don't let it override your rules. So let me build a 21 real quick and we'll look at it. And I want to show you exactly what I mean when I say that. And I see it when people add range charts as well. So people will add a range chart and they'll let the range chart make all the decisions for them and they stop using large chart, small chart. So if you're going to use a 21, I'm going to show you what I mean here. Mostly because I'm guilty of it. Anything in this room I'm guilty of when we start talking about it. Let me find where that chart opened. There we go. So here's my 21. And let's just circle for grins. The most current bar on the 21. Well, that's not a good example because it just started. We'll take a full bar, a full reversal bar on the 21. In that one bar, Gerard, it said up with odds favorable momentum. Would you agree? The small chart had multiple divergences. The small chart showed a change of direction, and your large chart said, don't you dare take a long. Does that make sense, Gerard? The 21 is such a slow moving chart. But let's do this, Gerard. Let's change that. Let me get rid of these. Because I think there is a way to use that chart to your advantage. So I want to circle odds favorable to the downside because that's kind of what you had right there. Right? And then on the large chart, it was everything said down, the triggers never rolled, and it came back to the mid-band. So Gerard, I can use this chart maybe to help me take advantage of edge trade shorts. And then if I go back to the small chart, what did it look like? That was it right there. So when I had to have patience because of the second higher divergence, I could look at my large chart and say, oh, look, there's a mid-band, there's fibs. Let me wait for a confirmation because that 21 chart, odds favorable momentum, pull back to the mid-band, find an entry on the small chart. So there's ways to use it, but as soon as they start to conflict, most users find challenges using them. So this chart said down. This chart said 50-50. This chart said weakened triggers, losing momentum. This chart said no areas inside, right? So it went from good to not as good to even worse. But we're relying on that huge slow chart to give us the look. And look what happened. It pulled all the way up to the mid-band. It turned into a big chart trend trade. Does that make sense? I hope. So I think that there's great ways to use it, but you took an entry not inside a favorable large trigger. So get great at those basics before you try to complicate, before you try to create more opportunities through more charts, because most people find that they end up just confusing themselves a little bit or misusing the charts. I used to always see people trading indetermination conditions on this chart and then wondering why their trades aren't working on other charts. So just a little something that I noticed. But 13.2 and a 5.1 is the best of the best setup for crude oil. Good stuff. And then Jen, bad top, triggers roll, clear path, snap back to the area right inside of favorable large triggers, and let's get out at support. Jen, absolutely beautiful, nice trade. The advantage of momentum, the advantage of a clear path, selling an area inside of triggers, getting out at trouble. I mean, I can't write a script that's better than that. This is the one, I wish Paul was in here because he deserves all sorts of props for this one. You're welcome, George. Sometimes I'm going to give you guys answers that you don't want. True story. Sometimes I'm going to tell you what you don't want to hear. But I always tend to go back to simplicity. I almost always tend to try and nudge you guys back to making it as easy as possible because I really do think that's where the dividends get paid. as I want you to see this. This is a 50-50 trade, not a high probability trend trade. This is that area might break trade. Paul takes it with one divergence. Perfect sniper entry, the only line at the triggers. He gets paid quickly because it's not high probability, and he exits break even when the conditions change. Guys, this is the level of management that you need to have when you start venturing outside of the high probability trend trade. This is what you're capable of when you're comfortable with your chart reads. When the adrenaline from looking for a trade, from entering a trade, starts to subside because you have confidence in the looks, that's when it becomes easy to manage trades more aggressively. That's when you start to get paid on these trades that used to pull money out of your pocket before. And one of the things that you have to do, guys, when it's not perfect, you've got to be a little more aggressive. You've got to be a little more quick to the punch and to protect profits. So, Jen, this is a bad bottom, right? Not a termination that reversed, but there is weak triggers, which means anything can happen. It's likely to push up. It produces odds favorable momentum. And you take the little snapback right to the one-to-ones, right to the mid-band, right there. And this is a momentum style trade, Jen. This is you taking advantage of that immediate momentum, having something solid to bounce off of. And this is where you have to say, because of the split in the triggers, this may have been Paul's, or maybe this was yours. Because of the split in the triggers, you might just say, I'm willing to put my stop right here in case it goes lower, right? Or one of the other things, because of the gap to the synthetics, you might say, and the same thing that we talked about with Iron Mike, I know that it's odds favorable. I know that it's cranking. I know that I have areas. Everything is green. Why don't I let it give me a confirmation bar? Because here's my target and I've got room to get there, right? Guys, I love confirmation. And then it goes up and maybe you say, oh, I'm going to exit. And then you go, well, with confirmation, why not? Because that's such a great look. Yeah, I love it. It's a great look. And there's a time when I will ignore the split. If these were red, I would be more weary. But because everything is green, everything is cranking, there's no divergence on the pullback, this is the best look of momentum. That's a pretty awesome. It's just a momentum style trade. Well, you're not missing any trades, Jen. You're not missing any trades because of that gap. You're erring on the side of caution because you know it may correct, right? Let's change the language again. I'm in a languagey mood. You're erring on the side of caution because you know that there's a chance that it may drop, right? But with a little study, some repetition, a little class feedback, you're going to get to the point where you say, this is worth $100 to me to risk. Because with this look of momentum, with these weak triggers having formed, with that divergence in place, I'm expecting it to hit a mid-band. So I have all of this room to get up to my expectation. Does that make sense? Your chart read says the mid-band is likely. The momentum kind of confirms that. Now you're just looking for your entry. So you change the ID on the entry. Beautiful. I love this picture. I love this trade. It's scary in the beginning though, isn't it? That's terrifying because I scare the shit out of you guys with split triggers. Why do I do that? Because I want to optimize your chances of success as new users, guys. I want you to be terrified of split triggers until you have the repetitions to know when it's time to break that rule. Jen, this is where it's time to break that rule. So those blanket rules, it's your parents keeping you safe, wrapping you up in your whoopee. Man, let's see, who's next? I think we had a pretty good lull in pictures. Guys, go watch this clip. That was pretty cool. Empire. That was a good reference for patience. All right, I want you guys to see this. While I was waiting for my rules to be met, I'm going to show you how many lessons I got from not taking a trade. Any more? Nope, that's it. So let me go back to mine. Let me come back to the bottom. So guys, I was watching the market. And I'm watching the market and I'm saying to myself, dang it, I don't have rules met. So let's start building some lessons for class. If you hit a termination condition with odds favorable momentum, there's a pretty good chance it's going to retest. Turns into a PSO all the time. That's one that you could take, drop it into your spreadsheet, patterns that repeat themselves. When price reaches Fibonacci support and the large triggers are a full bar away, guys, this is the gap theory. When price accelerates away from the large triggers, hits an area, and those large triggers are a full bar away, it's likely to close the gap. It's not guaranteed to close the gap. A pivot stop out, Jen, means that there was a loss of momentum that created this line. Price traded above it and back below. What are you sorry about? Are you sorry you just made half the class smarter? Shame on you. Guys, a pivot stop out means that we had a pivot with a loss of momentum. Price trades above and back below. No more long trades into that area. When price hits a Fibonacci area and the large triggers are a full bar away, it has the potential to close that gap, which means any shorts between the bottom of this bar and those triggers is destined to get run over more often than not. And Jen, there's your split triggers, right? And you're saying, oh, I really want to go short, but the gap theory is in play. So Jen, one more to make you a little smarter. Notice that the gap theory wasn't in play over here. Pretty cool. It is in play here. So these are the things that repetition gets you thinking about in the moment. Oh, thanks, Ron. So you're just saying, I don't know, maybe I wait for confirmation. You know what? I like it when they say sorry, Rob, because we're a room full of polite people, but you don't ever have to be. Don't ever have to be. And then I made this one. So guys, when price doesn't reach these key areas and pulls all the way back to support, there's the gap theory again. That means that the buyers are probably trying to get to the next key area, the unfinished business. This is a pattern that you're going to recognize a lot, and eventually you'll be able to start capitalizing on the not so perfect trades. But this really reminds us, haters gonna hate. Guys, we're not the only people that know about these key areas. The people that move the market are very aware of them. We're taking the patterns they produce and learning to capitalize on them. There was that pivot stop out. There was that gap theory. And then Iron Mike, this is one of those times when that confirmation doesn't make sense, right? If you know that you're into a termination condition, if you know that the gap theory, don't get suckered in on a reversal bar. There's not enough advantages present to wait for confirmation. Confirmation is great when it's almost perfect, but you need that little push over the edge. So my indicator still said no, guys. I'm still sitting on my hands not taking a trade. And sure enough, the gap theory filled, and that market ended up pushing up even beyond. They still went up. And the market's been in this big up grind. So guys, that was 6 pictures, not one trade, and I'm better for it. These are how you get good at stuff, guys. No pressure of a trade, no fear of loss, nothing but just a little bit of analysis, going through, typing it out, seeing what I see, and finding a way to make myself smarter based on the patterns that I see. And then the next one that I did, and I love this one. Remember when I said 90% of your day? 90% of your day is spent reading indicators, guys. Here's that whole scenario. Rule 2 said don't go long, and it kept me out of a loser. Rule 2 said don't go short. It kept me out of a loser. Rule 2 said don't go long, don't go short, don't go long. Guys, this was 5 opportunities to lose money that I avoided by following my rules. So I took this picture too, because that's important. The more times you see your rules keeping you out of trouble, the more apt you are to believe them. The more likely you are to not take those risky trades, because your brain starts to say, wait a minute, I've seen this. I've seen this look. I know this pattern. And then Paul says, when I've got a great top and odds favorable and the perfect entry, I'll wait for a little confirmation because of the divergence low, and I'm just going to make some money on the way down. And Paul, that's beautiful if you watch this on YouTube. And then Iron Mike, are you still in here? Sometimes I get lost on the was this the trade that you were asking about yesterday? I think that we were in it, and I just closed it out. It was the end of the day, right there around noon. I wanted to go through it. You had a 50-50 trade, and guys, your entry. Oil news. That's okay, Mike. It's good to get burned on news. It teaches you to not get burned again. So, guys, this is a pretty good management picture. It's a 50-50. It's coming from a great top, and that's your perfect entry. You could have made $100, gone to break even, right? Second higher divergence says get out of the trade. That's a great management tool that you'll learn with a little experience. But it says if this still says down, look for a signal. So there's your second entry, over $300 worth of profit, and then you get that third divergence. And guys, what's awesome is that all of this, over $400 worth of profit, happens in this tiny little range. And it's a great example of how once you're chart reading, you really get to the point to where you can start to take advantage of these moves within the moves. You can start managing in and out of trades with such precision that you'll be floored at how you get something out of nothing. To add to Mark's gap theory pick, not quite a full bar away, Jen, but still aimed down directly into a mid band from a bad bottom. Remember when we talked about that expectation? When I get a divergence and it's not a solid termination condition, that mid band's my first bounce point. That's exactly where it went to. And one of the things that you'll begin to notice, guys, is these large triggers aren't necessarily a full bar away, but they're still very strong down. And that's where, Jen, I said, if those synthetics were down, I would be more leery of taking that trade. So that's a great picture. Can you guys still hear me? We okay? Class got quiet. Let's see who's next. Jen's got a couple. I'll double click. Okay, cool. Expected inventories were to be 1.2, actual is 4.2. Why should it have gone up, Rob? Because it's a bigger number? And I don't know how these things work, but if I think that I only have a million and it turns out that I have 4, supply and demand suggests that the price is probably going to go down, doesn't it? Because actual beats expectations. If I think I'm only going to have one sandwich left in the world, that sandwich is expensive. If it turns out I have 4 million sandwiches, I can't sell it for as much. I think it makes sense that gold would go, or that crude would go down. But this is why I don't trade news, what they say. Because everybody has an opinion, guys. They're very much like things. And I just try not to guess. So Jen says termination, reversal, everything comes down, odds favorable, and then that's that momentum style snapback. Little pow, and then out. Beautiful trade. Terminations set the tone. Jen, very nice. And then you get those triggers. No areas inside keeps you out of the short. And because of the termination, and then Jen, there's your gap theory. Do you see it? See how they're below completely? That's your gap theory, 100%, which says don't take the long. Let it close the gap and then see what it does. Good stuff. Great pictures. Let me scroll up. And guys, I want to remind you, there was a lot of pictures this morning. If I missed your picture, Debbie, I know you dropped a couple in, but I don't remember where they were in the mix. If you think that I missed one, let me know. Give me a time, and I will always backtrack. Nope, I didn't miss it. Here it is, right here. You were next. Good job. I worry about that stuff sometimes, though. No, it's not okay. Yeah, Jonathan, haven't gotten to yours yet. So termination, weak top, pullback. You took the momentum style trade. Is that right, Debbie? You just jumped in, didn't wait for areas inside, and then you held it. So could we agree, and tell me if I'm off base here. This is for you guys that want to jump in. This is the only chart I'm going to look at. If I draw a line on your small triggers, Debbie, anything on this side of the line is just happy. That's your jump in momentum. That's what's saying, this is amazing, let's hold that trade. Anything on this side of that line sucks for a jump in trade. I think that's probably the easiest way for me to say it. So, if you're going to take a trade based solely on jumping in with momentum, it stands to reason that when that momentum goes away, maybe you consider an exit. Where was your stop? All the way down here, where the market shouldn't go? These are the things that I think about because I didn't think about them in the beginning. If I'm going to jump in with this momentum, and check this out, you got in, let me see if I can see prices. You were in at 63.7. You could have been out around 65-ish. 130 bucks per contract, right? These are the trades that aren't home runs. These are the trades that have to be quick profits. These are the trades, so less inventory. Okay. Have fewer sandwiches. There we go. That's why I don't trade news, Rob, because I suck at that. I just wait for my patterns to be true. So because your big trigger and synthetics were over each other on the pullback, and that's part of the recipe, Debbie. I see exactly what happened. Thank you for putting that. So let me go to an easier picture to read, if you don't mind. And I'll show you exactly. We'll use this one. So we want them on top of each other. But the one part of the equation that you missed there is we want there to be a line inside of it. So we're not getting in on a little fluctuation. We're not getting in when it hits the trigger. We're actually using fibs, mid-bands, yellow 1-to-1s for a point of entry. So if we look at your picture here, when that reversal bar happened, you did a great job nailing favorable large triggers, but this mid-band right here is your potential entry. Even this mid-band right here. Like, so when that started to pull back, you're like, oh, come on. And then when this one started to pull back, you're like, ooh, come on. And then when you got that divergence, even that's your potential bounce point. So it's not the triggers, but rather the areas inside. And then over here, you had that 50-50 look, which means that this wasn't quite a clear path yet. And then that momentum starts to go away with divergence, and it says, hey, you may have to manage this one pretty aggressive. And if you took the bounce and you got out of it pretty quick. Does that make sense? So what you got was a cool little momentum style trade. And these are the ones, if you watch Ron C trade these, if he's in at 63.6, he's out at 64.7. And he'll trade 3 or 4 or 5 contracts and take a quick $100 while he's in that immediate momentum. And what's cool is that tiny little snippet. If you do $400 and you find 5 of those during the day, that's a $2,000 day. And you went out with a pull. I love it. Beautiful. Get out with the loss of momentum. And I love it, Debbie. Great job. It's a great read. And it opened up the door for us to have a little talk about that rule number 3. So thank you for that post. Jen, bad bottom, 50-50. So Jen, this is that one where maybe a little confirmation, right? When you've got the split triggers, maybe you wait for that confirmation. If you feel good about it, right? If you keep, you're like, man, everything is up and that is so strong. And the mid band is right at this one, and this one is here. Jen, is it worth it to get in at 60, understanding that it may go to 55 and keeping your stop down here? That's what you have to ask yourself. Is the risk worth it to have 15 ticks? Or do I wait for confirmation and have 11? And it's similar, but at least confirmation, you're going in the direction. I like it. Great picture. And you seem to be seeing this pattern a lot. So all you're doing now is creating this Rolodex where you can learn how to trade it successfully. And then Mr. Flowers, everything is up. Small triggers above the large triggers with separation. Triggers bursting through yellow 1-to-1s. Well, not yet. Target area of resistance up top. And you get in with confirmation because of the split triggers. Is that right, Mr. Flowers? You said, I don't know which one it's going to be. Let me get confirmation. Dude, that's beautiful. And then you got out with a close of momentum. So, guys, there's little things in the world that make me giddy. And it's when I have conversations with you guys and I see you execute the conversation absolutely perfect. Doesn't that take the stress out when it's not perfect? Could be either. Everything says up. Momentum's insane. Hell, I'll give up 8 ticks because look at all the room I have. Love it. Great job, Mr. Flowers. Let's see where we're at. Dun, 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 dun. Scroll in. Iron Mike. Oh, and we talked about this one. And then Jonathan, we got you, bud. Termination, everything is down. Price is cranking. And all right, this is a little tough to read. You went short into the termination condition and it didn't work. You went short again into the same termination condition and it didn't work. And these are really important lessons. Short into that big blue line with no triggers and you lost, and then you tried it again because you're really smart. That's why I do it, because my opinion says it's got to break, and it didn't. And then you said, okay, let me cool my jets. Well, if it can't go down into a termination condition, maybe it'll go up into a termination condition. And that one didn't work out either. And then you said, well, shoot, the long didn't work. And I just got stopped out. Well, let me try to go short back into that termination against the triggers. And that didn't work. Son of a bitch. And then this long didn't work into the termination condition. We found your thing, Mr. Jonathan. and you got stopped out of that one, and you said, well, I'm pretty damn smart, and even though it's a termination and everything's red, I'm going to go long again and get stopped out. And that line is blue and everything's against me, and I'm going to get stopped out. And I apologize if that one thinned your skin a little bit, but do you see how Rule 2 keeps you out of every one of those trades? The simple momentum clear path entry area keeps you out of every one of those trades. And this is so normal. This look right here, this indecision, this is where fortunes are lost, ladies and gentlemen. And you guys remember what I said this morning that the biggest chink in my armor is the phrase "it should." Well, this is a termination condition. It should go up. Well, this is a termination condition. It should go down. Well, I think that's it. I know, but Jonathan, if you show me this, I have to talk through it. It's an obligation. So let's go here. Here we have strong triggers. Love it. You have a clear path. Outstanding. The only thing that you didn't get here, Jonathan, is a pullback to resistance inside of favorable large triggers. If you sold a pullback at the triggers, then you're jumping in and you're hoping that that momentum carries you. And it did. It took you, if you got in at 61 and a half, heck, that was 3.5 points down to 58. That's $150 worth of potential profit. But you don't have any idea that 58 is going to be the bottom, which means that as it starts pulling back, you panic right about break even. And this is a great look on the large chart, 100% perfect look on the large chart. The rules say, and you know I've got to do that, the rules say that your best entry is right here, at using an area to bounce off of. If you entered right here, this is that momentum style trade, which means that a loss of momentum becomes a great exit. So you're right, that would be a quick trade, and you called it. 100%. Relying on the large chart to take advantage on the small chart. And there's not a lot of room. And this is one of those ones, though, from if you're in at 61.5, 59.5 is your $100. And I think we said this with Deb, too. There's traders in this room that take $100 plus commission when all they're relying on is momentum. And it seems to be a pretty good plan. I don't tell you guys how to trade, but it seems to be a pretty solid approach to being able to get paid on trades that just don't last. All right. Mr. Flowers, what is the area that you reached here? Help me out. Good job, Jonathan. Sorry I tore up everything above it. I know that wasn't your intention. But they're good talks, because even those things, when you're messing around trying to do stuff on sim, you're creating muscle memory. You're teaching your brain that it's okay to do that, that there's no consequences. All right, Mr. Flowers. Are you with me in here? What is your area? I was hoping to be better looking. It didn't work out. There's no area there, right? There's no fibs, no mid bands, no yellow 1-to-1s, no divergence highs. There's nothing there. So it can never, by definition, be a strong top, ever. Ever, 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 ever. Which means that when I don't have a strong top, the mid band is really my first area of concern. But not only do you not have a strong top, you've got price smacking into a perfect termination condition. 100% not a clear path. And you've got the gap theory in place. And you've got split triggers. And man, the fact that you didn't lose the whole farm on this one, they were being nice to you. But there's a lot of reasons that this was destined for failure. Odds favorable momentum. Okay. So check it out. But I took my foot off the accelerator. So Paul, you had direction, you didn't have momentum, and you definitely didn't have a clear path, right? Hey, what's up, Gary? Hope you're feeling better. I saw that 2 stints, man. I'm glad to be hearing your voice. So what you did, Paul, and man, I'm so notorious for this. But I want to do it like this, and this is why I have you guys talking in terms of advantages. Is I don't have momentum, right? And I don't have a clear path. I don't have any of this good stuff. I'm down 66% of my advantages. And I'm hoping that I can break every rule that I have in an area inside of the large trigger might hold, right? And then Paul, you didn't even get in it at the area. You gave away $120 from the top of the bar. And you gave yourself 4 ticks to get to the problem. Does that make sense? You can do whatever you want, but man, if you let the small chart lead the way, you're going to find that it's pretty problematic when the large chart doesn't say go. Odds favorable, clear path, perfect entry, didn't work. It's all right, Paul. We all do it at some point. All right, guys, as a class, we are going to either absolutely roast Jen or we're going to be the most supportive group of people ever. Does she have odds favorable momentum, really? Smalls below the large, large or wide, space between the two. What do you guys think? New users, help me out here. Does she have strong triggers for real? All right. Okay, but hold on. Cindy, you're awesome. Price didn't reach an area, and hold it. Did she really have a clear path? What do you guys think? Price didn't reach an area. Yes. Okay, so this is where she messed up, right? Did she have an area inside of favorable large triggers, ladies and gentlemen? Surely that pink line inside of these triggers isn't an area inside of favorable large triggers. She did? So she had every advantage that we look for in a high probability trend trade. Well, how do you guys explain this? There you go, Jen. And guys, I'm doing this right now. It's not even 50-50, Cindy, because we don't worry about those pink one-to-ones. And Rob, the colors have nothing to do with it. Colors have nothing to do with it. It didn't reach an area, Paul. It was wide open. It was beautiful. This is the cost of doing business. And Jen, there's only up here? Are they inside of favorable large triggers, Paul? No, those mean jack shit. Pardon my French, everybody. These mean nothing. Because these one-to-ones are all the way up here. Look at that. I'm not going short with that look. She took the perfect short. Jen, the only thing that I can say about this trade, the only coaching that I could ever possibly give you on this trade, because you did everything right, is that if I expect price to correct inside the triggers, and I expect price to bounce off of the line inside of the triggers, why on earth did you get stopped out so far up here? Because once you're there, it sucks. Once you're there, the market has already told you, Jen, it's not doing what we expect it to do. You had the perfect entry. You had every advantage. Life was great. Birds were singing. Baby deer had gathered outside of your window for this trade. And then the small crowd pushed it up. And Jen, you could have lost 40 bucks on this trade, maybe 50. Because once it gets up here, the game changes. Does that make sense? Guys, it's hard to do this because this is what happens. There's two what ifs in trading. There is, what if that fib that doesn't fit my rules holds, right? So when you have to manage a trade, you start playing the scenarios out that still get you paid. And you begin to believe them, right? I'm in the trade. It's perfect. And I refuse to use the correct stop because what if I put it here and that fib holds? Or what if I put it here and those 1-to-1s hold? Right? Just take your licks. Be done. And then the other thing that happens, guys, is when I'm looking for a trade, right? And the rules aren't met. Hold on. Sorry, Paul. And the rules aren't met, and I have a termination, and I don't have momentum. Then the next what if is what if this is the one time that the gap theory doesn't work from a bad top directly into fibs and a midband? What if this is the one that decides to break every security blanket I have and drop like a ton of bricks? So guys, you're going to be constantly battling what ifs. And this is where you have to adhere to rules. This is where you have to say, my stop placement is based on 10,000 pictures John Novak took. My entry methodology is based on 30 years of Nexgen teaching people to trade almost. Let me trust it a little bit, because one of the great things is when you don't give it all back. When you take a $50 loser, guys, it feels good. You're like, man, that was such a great trade. I lost a little, no big deal. I'm going to go off to the next trade. So I like it. And then Miss Debbie, termination, reversal, odds favorable, almost a clear path. So let's do this. Let's not even look at your trade because there's an emotional attachment. There's an emotional attachment to your trade right now. Let's give you the look from 2021 because it's exactly the same. Jen, if this is where the market is most likely to continue, your window of opportunity, right? And you're great at identifying the window of opportunity, then my initial stop is going to go 4 to 5 ticks outside of that window. That's it. It's that simple. Because if they push past that window, I don't want to be in the trade anymore. And I don't want to be 15 ticks beyond that window because, gosh, there's no reason at all for that market to go up from here, right? So in your trade, what you can do is you can say, that midband is the only line this thing should bounce off of. Let me get a little bit behind it. And here's the wonderful thing, Jen. Are you ready? If you get run over and lose 40 bucks, and then you get one of those reversal bars off of the fib, right? Everything still says down. Everything's cranking. Large chart's beautiful. And you get a reversal bar right here. Is there any reason you can't enter that trade? take a tiny hickey here instead of giving up $300, and then take the next trade with established risk if the large chart still says go. And that's that recovering from a loss, and that sets people apart. All right, Miss Debbie, where did you enter? Well, I know you entered at 67.4, which is right here. Did you enter on this bar? Did you enter over here on one of these bars? Because the only thing that I'm sure of, and first let's praise, right? Let's praise tons. Love the momentum. Love the look on the large chart. Love that you're coming from a pivot stop out. All right, so right here. So Debbie, you and my wife have something in common other than just loving me tremendously. When I was trying to teach my wife to trade, to find these entries, every time she saw the beginning of a pullback, right, a little fluctuation, she was like, sell, 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 sell. And it was just it was a simple misunderstanding. Go, 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 go. And then I want you to see this. This is 67.4. This is 68.4. That's $100 more profit via rule number 3. But here's the best part. That's $100 less risk. So what you did, and I saw this on the other one as well, and this is cool because I love this lesson because it's more common than you would think. You know you were looking for a short, and Debbie, to me, that's this huge win that you believe in the large chart, you believe in this look, you understand this look, you're embracing this look, and you know without question it's time to look for a short trade. That's amazing. You're 2/3 of the way there. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna work on your pump the brakes card just a little bit. So, and let me go back to this picture as well. Where was it at? It's not the reversal bar that's the entry for the highest probability trend trade. It's not the impact on the triggers that's the high probability trend trade entry. It's that pullback to the areas, fibs, midbands, yellow 1-to-1s inside of those triggers. And this is such a common entry. And I'm telling you, my wife, it was so funny. She's like, Mark, why do I keep getting run over? And of course, she's my wife. I'm not really paying attention to what she's doing. And I go back and I'm looking at her charts because she didn't want to post them in the room because that's embarrassing. She's the teacher's wife and is messing up entries. It's because the market is moving. It's easy when it's slow, right, Debbie? When it's not moving. So, Debbie, just a question. Can I put you on the spot? Just a little bit. How many times have you circled a tail and looked for this entry? And you don't have to answer it. Okay, and that's all right because Debbie, that was the same answer I had when I lost $5,000 in like 2 hours. My brother goes, well, how many pictures have you taken, Mark? And I said, none, because I'm freaking brilliant. There's a reason that I encourage you guys to go back and do this. So, and I'm going to play, and this is for everybody that's working on entries. Does it stand to reason that if you kept circling tails and you kept noticing that it wasn't the reversal bar that gets you the best entry, but rather the bounce off of areas, do you suppose that you would begin to develop a level of trust? And even more so, let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. Where are we here? I don't even know. I want to find a good looking high probability entry. Here we go. Let's use this one, Miss Debbie. No worries. Oh, well, I'm sorry that you were scared too, and it's totally normal. I can't stress that enough. I was terrified. Debbie, imagine my situation. My big brother wrote the software. My big brother has been teaching people to day trade for almost 30 years. And I had to post in the room with the last name Novak and show the entire world that even though I was brand new, I wasn't good at this yet. Ah, scared the hell out of me, Debbie. Not gonna lie. And I paid for it. I paid for it dearly. So I'm glad that you posted. And I really am. I'm hopeful that you're realizing that it's not too painful to drop a picture in here. Where is that circle? 1106. Am I doing this wrong? Oh, there we go. Oh, it's even prettier. So I want you to see something cool. You're nailing this part, Debbie. You've got this. You've got momentum. You've got the potential to break. Everything is beautiful, right? Can we go through this bar by bar? I like doing this. Everything says up, right? And let's do this so you can just see it. Potential to break, everything's screaming, the market looks great, it's time to look for a trade, and everything is up. Let's get rid of our little cheater here. At the time, this is what your small chart looks like, and it's moving, right? And let's do this. It's going, woo, uh-oh, hold on. It's like momentum, 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 momentum. Oh my gosh, it's going so fast, I don't know what to do. I know that I'm waiting for a reversal bar. I remember Mark saying something about a reversal bar. Oh, there it is. Get in the market. Get in the market. There's that reversal bar. I kind of remember this from class. Go long, go long, go long, go long, right? But here's the deal, and this one's a little off, Debbie. If you have to wait for a reversal bar, and then you look for the triggers, and then you say, where are my areas inside of the triggers? And you're absolutely right. This would be a momentum style trade. But Debbie, if that reversal bar is already on the wrong side, because we buy a pullback, right? The whole idea is that we let the market come down to us. So if I'm already below with the reversal bar an area, that's probably not my area. Does that make sense, everybody? If my reversal bar gets below what I expect to create a bounce, that's not the area that's creating the bounce. Awesome. So I'm going to pull this one out of the equation. And I'm going to tighten up that window of opportunity. So I'm not getting in at the trigger. I'm not getting in at the reversal bar. What I'm doing is I'm right-clicking on my chart. I'm above price, so it's only giving me the sell. And I'm activating a limit order right here. Now let's break this apart. My reversal bar was 11:06 and 12 seconds. Here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes. There's my entry. That was only about 12 seconds. This was a pretty quick entry. So if that market's moving, this is exactly what's happening, guys. Here's my reversal bar. What do I do next? Hold on, it's something about triggers. Let me think about the triggers. Was it the triggers here? No, I think it was the triggers here. Do I get into the triggers? No, I don't get into the triggers. Hold on, I've got to look for an area inside, and then the market's up here. And you're like, son of a gun, I missed my entry. Anyone else done that besides me? So how do we counteract that? How do How do we slow that market down? Debbie, let's circle this tail. Maybe. Do you think, well, there it is over here. Hold on. I missed my tail. It's probably not a coincidence that it's right in an area and it's right inside of those triggers, and this is where the market bounced. Does that make sense? Do you see how these two together create the trade? And it's that little bit of patience coming back. And this is what's going to reduce that risk for everybody. And this is even more so what's going to give you room to get up to that problem area. So from 87 up to here, that's $130 worth of profit, and it never even gave you a slowdown, until like 120, 130. So what we can do, and let's do another one just for grins, is let's put, whoops. Ooh, I don't even know what that was. I've never seen that tool. Let's put a circle on this one. Oh, Iron Mike's your husband? Oh, well, he's trouble. I can already tell. That's the problem. No, he's good. He's right. Do those pullbacks. So, Debbie, check it out again. If nothing else, even if the rules aren't met completely, look how tiny that point for the bounce is here. Isn't that amazing? So it's that little bit of patience. And this one went from 11:02 to like 03 and change. This one had almost a minute and a half to get back there. Did it break my entry point? Are you saying it went below? So when I have this much momentum, the potential to break, Paul, I've got strong triggers, no divergence, and my window of opportunity is literally this wide. Hell yeah. I've got a limit order right here, and I say, come and get me, guys. But here's the deal, and Debbie, this may help you. As you begin to try to develop trust in that methodology a little bit, is there anything wrong with waiting for the confirmation? Because what happens, right? It's the difference between, and I'm going to crash Ninja if I keep drawing on it. So Paul, this is 87. This is 92. And let me do this. If it moves too freaking fast right now, I wait for a reversal bar and hit buy. But Paul, that's okay in the beginning, right? Because if you wait for the reversal bar, this is what you guys don't get. All you're doing is practicing right now. Kenny, I haven't gotten to it yet. I think I remember seeing it. Let me double check and make sure I don't though. If you guys get in here, right? If it's for 30 days, this is all I do. Because I'm struggling with the idea of buying the market on the way down. Because I'm struggling a little bit on, is that my area? What if it goes beyond? Stuff like that. That's totally cool. But what do you guys think? Do you think, Paul, if you took 30 days waiting for confirmation, you're going to start seeing that entry more and more, aren't you? And you're going to start realizing that your risk is less, and you're going to start realizing that your profit potential is more. So this is totally okay. Debbie, this is totally okay. And then what we do is eventually we refine back to the best of the best place because we've developed the trust. So it's awesome. And then, Debbie, just for grins, because it's hard to do things with your spouse. It really is. Oh, let me figure out where it was. I don't know where it is, but somewhere in this spreadsheet it says Nexgen Jen's perfect short, and that's my wife. Um, and we did it because she had to get the lesson, we had to have the talk, and we had to talk out the correct entry. And then once we did, she had something to go off of, and she freaking nailed it. And I can't find it. So when you're studying this later, because I'm sure you're going to, oh, right on. We did too, Mike. We were in separate rooms. But what'll happen is you'll go back and you'll see this, and you're gonna have this little happy adrenaline rush, because you realize that you just got the best entry because you just nailed it, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can be taught. And that's what Jen did. She actually came out of the other room into my office and and said, "Look at my entry, look at my entry." And I said, "Go post it in the room." And she did. Kenny, I remember that yours was a weird looking one, and I'm trying to find it right now. If you wanted to, you don't have to, but if you wanted to repost it, nope, there it is. I got it. It's because it had a weird look to it. Nope, that was Jen's. Oh, see, so Kenny, when you drop them in like that, you're making me download it and go through. If you would do me a favor, and that's why I missed it, if you would do me a favor and drop it in either as a copy paste or drop it in as that link rather than the screencast thing, it would be great. Kenny, were you there for Jen's lesson on this one? No? Oh. Well, then I'm going to give you the same praise. Watch this. Let's use her picture, though. It had odds favorable momentum, 100%. It had a strong top, 100%. It had a clear path, 100%. It had an area inside of favorable large triggers, 100%. Kenny, you took the best looking trade ever. Outstanding. Why did you put so much freaking risk on that trade? And this was the lesson that we got out of it. And we came back to this one. If you know where the market is most likely to continue, and Kenny, you do, you nailed it. Does it make sense to put the stop $300 off in the distance? Does it make sense to put the stop way the hell up here? This is you hoping that this fib saves your bacon when this trade fails, right? And the difference between 22.25 and 25.25, that's $150 a contract. That's $1,500 worth of risk. The correct stop is right around 63, right around 64. So 64, 62 to 64 is just under 2 points. That's more like, what is that, like $87? You cut your risk in half with great stop placement. And I want you guys to see something, and this is pretty cool. Yeah, it's so common, guys. You can't get upset about it. Check this out. And we're going to do this too. I think I did this on Jen's. Is that the look that you want for a short trade? Not really, right? Right here, I can say, all right, I'm on the wrong side of everything. Up here, I'm saying, holy crap, I'm on the wrong side of everything. And new users don't think that way yet. We just don't. We don't think that way yet. So your trade was perfect. Everything about your trade was 100% spot on. It just didn't work. And that's where understanding that window of opportunity and where the market shouldn't go, and the same thing that I said to Jen, and I close yours out, is that if this one fails right here at 63, You can always pop in again with a reversal bar if nothing changes, right? When it hits it, get a reversal bar. I'll take a shot at it. And you never get that reversal bar anywhere near, so you don't have to. No, there is no tears, man. That's a cost of doing business. That's a beautiful trade. That is a trade that I would lose with you. I would stand arm in arm and I would say, you mother scratchers got to come get me right here, but not up here, because up here, oh, that's just too far gone. Great lesson in management. Management's the second part of it, guys. When you nail these beautiful entries, you can risk less. You can have bigger profit potential. And that's pretty awesome. And then before I go to the next picture, Debbie, thank you. Thank you so much for posting this one, because I think this is an awesome lesson for everybody. And I think that this lesson is going to pay huge dividends for you in the very near future. So thanks for having the courage to drop that in there. Andy Man, weak top, strong triggers, NT misbehaving again. I tried to fix this and it's been giving me fits for weeks now. All the printing, entries, exits, targets in the wrong spot. Andy, when they don't print right, your entries were 3 bars back. When they don't print right, Andy, John Novak had a deal. It has something to do with your internal clock on the computer and the way it syncs up to NinjaTrader. And I'm not 100% sure what the fix is, but if you go to Jason and just ask him, go, hey Jason, is there something we can do about this? I guarantee it's been broken before. There's been people in my room with it. I don't know the fix. I do believe John Novak knows the fix, so you could even post it in the traders chat room. And I bet you would have a fix for that almost instantly. And I'm sorry that I don't have the answer. But I think in traders chat, you'll probably get the answer that you need almost instantly. If not going to Jason, which in my opinion, Jason's always the best, because that guy's freaking brilliant. All right, let's see what we have. All right, Mr. Flowers, odds favorable, potential to break, right? So that's our large chart read. Odds favorable, potential to break but not broken. Oh yeah, no worries, Andy. So Andy, what you can do is turn that nonsense off and just give me circles at your entry and give me circles at your exit. I don't want you to miss out on posting because you think it looks silly. Yeah, just give me circles. I want to talk about everything you do. You've had such a great stride going lately. I don't want to change that. So give me circles. All right, Paul. I know you're waiting for the confirmation bar, so we're not even going to talk about that. So let's go back to 3 rules. I'm having fun today. I hope you guys are having fun today. We know it's one of those 50-50 trades, so it's not a clear path, right? So we're going after momentum and we're looking for the perfect entry area. You've got the momentum in truckloads on the large chart, but you notice how we have the loss of momentum on the small chart? Still a great look, still a rock star entry at that mid band. So I love it. I love your thought process here. But then, Paul, we got to manage a little more aggressively when the large chart isn't perfect. And it's not. We've got a 50-50, and it's not even coming from a good top. So what happens is this bad top means that the guys didn't know. You're learning your entries, Paul. You're not missing anything. You knew exactly where your entry was supposed to be, and now we're figuring out a way to trust getting in at that area. That's all it is. You're not missing anything. Your read is beautiful. Your recognition is awesome. The entry is a little late, but now you're going to be a little focused on dropping that limit order right here, and let's build a little trust in the bounce, right? Because if we're in at 74, there's your $100 profit target at 64. And then it turns into management. And one of the things, so on these 50-50 trades, not from a good top reduces the likelihood of success. Divergence and not from a good top reduces the likelihood of success. If you still take the trade, a second divergence that's higher and not a good top, Paul, this says, get the hell out of this trade. It's not happening, brother. You've sacrificed momentum twice. So this is one of those things where if I'm in this trade and I know that divergence can take me out, I'm going to know about divergence on the third bar. My stop is right where that third bar prints. So if divergence is true, I don't give up too much. It's a great recognition, and I think that in the next week, we're going to see way better entries out of you, and it's going to give you a chance to get paid on these rather than taking a loss. Does that make sense? It's a great large chart look. You nailed the area. No, there's no hope. Hope's for the people that don't have a plan. You have a plan. You're just learning to execute it. Great job on this one. And yeah, Rob, crude oil slows down a lot at noon. They go grab lunch, and they don't always come back. So good stuff, Mr. Flowers. Thank you for that. And guys, we're going to run over today. Jonathan, you had a termination, creates a reversal, and you jump in at the top hoping it goes, and it doesn't. And with all that momentum, it comes back and retests. And then you jump in again. Oh, and this one goes with it. You made 2 trades. You most certainly did. Why did you make them, though, Jonathan? That's what you have to ask yourself. With all of the triggers down here, why did you go long? And then with the triggers down here, why did you go long? And then once they started to roll and you were on the right side of that momentum, did you notice how easy it was to win off of that termination? Patience. Patience. Let it roll. You'll find an opportunity. So the only thing I want you to notice on this one is when I fight the large chart, I get my ass kicked. When I let the large chart roll and start to give me some of that look that I'm looking for, it's not that hard. Good stuff. Great stuff. Where are we at? And then Ron C says base hits add up. Guys, that's how you take these trades. Odds favorable, get in, get the hell out, wait for the next trade. I'm going to tell you right now, all the credit in the world to Ron C. I'm getting there, I promise. I'm getting there. Ron, great looking trade. Termination, odds favorable, clear path, get in with momentum, get out before it ever gets a chance to die. Build a career off of that look. We looked at that one, Jonathan. And then base hits add up. We just saw that one. Cindy says 50-50 trade. Everything's up. Why did you get in the middle of nowhere? What got you in? One down, one up? From John's class? One down, one up? Yeah. Doesn't that require momentum on 3 charts, though? I guess you had it. And then it pulls back, so your stop's in the right spot. And then 74 is your trouble spot. Why hold? Beautiful trade. But momentum trades typically turn into trend trades. You know that. And Cindy, you've done it beautifully lately. And your stop placement's been spot on. So you can take this little early entry knowing where your stop goes, and you have so much trust in this chart that it doesn't seem to freak you out when it comes against you a little bit. I love it. And momentum, momentum, momentum. It's fun to say. Nicely done, Cindy. You have been my poster child for good stop placement lately. And then Jonathan, we saw that one as well. And then Jen, odds favorable, screaming down. You take the little snap back to the triggers. It doesn't make it. You fudged a little bit there. And then it comes down. And you add it on at the mid band. And you went down here. Large chart leads the way. Fudged it a little bit right there. There's no areas inside of there, Jen. I'm going to get you on the language. But Jen, can I ask you one question? Are you in here? Did you know where your stop should go? In case it came up further? Did you have your stop in the right spot? That's my only question on this trade. Because it might have gone to that mid band. Was your stop outside of the window? It's like you and Cindy are in cahoots, right? Her stop was outside of the window in case this early entry pulled back. In case this early entry pulls back, 5 ticks beyond the triggers. Beautiful. That's what you call protecting yourself. Knowing where the market can continue lets you know where it shouldn't go. I love it. Great done. Great job. Guys, if you jump in early, it doesn't guarantee a win. All it does is it increases your risk. You have to be okay with that. And then, Jonathan, what do you think, Jonathan? If you waited for the pullback to support inside of favorable large triggers, that would have changed this trade drastically, wouldn't it? Because you were in, I can't tell where you were in. You were in at 66 instead of 64.75. That's 1.75 less risk. So guys, I got to tell you, you got to learn to trust these rules a little bit. You got to learn to trust these rules. And if you keep trying to take all of these trades outside of the rules, I'm telling you from experience, you can believe me or not. It's whatever. It's up to you. If you keep breaking every rule and not focusing on simplicity in the beginning, you're going to spin your wheels. And you're going to get frustrated. And you're going to be saying things like, son of a bitch, how come every time I jump into a trade I get stopped out down here, right? How come every time, why do I keep getting stopped out? And Jonathan, I'm not beating you up, brother. At the area inside of favorable large triggers. The same thing that I say every morning. At the area inside of favorable large triggers. The same thing that we talk about every day. At the area inside of favorable large triggers. Why? Because you can't take a momentum trade from the wrong side of the small triggers. It's not momentum. At this point, you have to accept that this is your entry. And then if you're in at 64.75, 66.75 is $100 worth of profits. You're already break even. Telling you guys, great entries create manageable trades. Jumping into the market has to be managed differently. And look, it pulled right back to support inside of favorable large triggers. I'll be damned. Do you see that, Jonathan? Ron, have a good one. Iron Mike, are you making up rules on me? That's okay. So let's talk about that real quick, and this will help. You ready? Let me find a good picture for it. This is a good picture for it. Jonathan, I love that second one, man. That was the patience. You waited for the pullback. There you didn't, and it became hard to manage. Here you get it, and that one looks a lot better, but it is a medium probability trade. I love it. Manage aggressively, medium probability. All right, Mike, let me show you something cool, man. Where'd I go? Hold on, I lost my picture. Nice. Do that twice a day. You just made 24 grand this year. All right, so Mike, when we talk about synthetic, and this is actually an awesome question, and I'm going to use different colors here. The synthetic triggers down here are the large triggers from the large chart. The large triggers right here are the large triggers from the small chart. So far, so good? Cool. So when I say, the rules say, like just written out, the rules say buy a pullback at an area inside of triggers. And it doesn't specify. It doesn't specify whether it's the large or whether it's synthetic. It says that there's got to be an area inside of the triggers. And why do we do that? Because these trigger lines represent the correction point. Are you with me so far? I love this question. And Mike, I'm embarrassed to tell you that it took me almost 3 years to come up with this little thing that I'm going through right now. So when we talk about favorable large triggers, let me go back. I've got this. One thing I've been doing, guys, I've been working on these little funding blogs. I am, dude, because you did. You're figuring it out way faster than me. So when we talk about favorable large triggers, let's zoom. And I use this phrase all the time. Favorable large triggers mean that both the large and the synthetic, they're just overlapping. They're one on top of the other. And all that means is that my correction points on both the large chart and the small chart are overlapping one on top of the other. So I'm going to call it favorable. It's a favorable large trigger. Favorable large triggers just means that they're overlapping. It means that you've taken that correction point where we expect price to go from two separate charts, and they've come together to form one area because they're overlapping. Does that make sense? And it doesn't matter if the large are higher than the synthetic or the synthetic are higher than the large. When those correction points are one on top of the other, life is amazing. The flip side is when those correction points double, and it doesn't matter. It could be the synthetics above the large above the synthetics. Just my rules say that that it's from an area inside of triggers. So when they start to separate, all it means is two correction points. To be favorable, it reduces your risk. You really get to pinpoint. When they begin to break apart, you lose that advantage. So let me see if I can find a picture that gives me kind of both options here. So on this one, I have yellow 1-to-1s in the synthetic. I have blue fibs in a mid-band inside of the large. So either of these, your window of opportunity is going to extend from here to here. And that's why when I talk about the window of opportunity, I love that you have me talking about this right now. That's why when I talk about the window of opportunity, let me pull up a picture. We first circle the triggers from the lowest line to the highest line because this is where price is likely to correct. And then we whittle it down a little bit from the areas. Does that make sense? But it took me, I kid you not, Mike, it took me 3 years. The only thing the triggers are where I expect price to go. I like the thank you for that. On the large chart, I expect the price to come back to the large triggers. So let's just keep it like that. On this chart, this is where I expect price to come back to. Does that make sense? Let's try and go super basic. Okay. On the small chart, I expect it to come back to the large triggers. The same way I do over here. So I expect price to come back to the large triggers on the large chart. I expect price to come back to the large triggers on the small chart. So what am I doing with these synthetics? When they overlap on the small chart where I expect price to come back to, it's that like double whammy. It's that, oh my gosh, both charts are expected to correct it to the exact same point. I love it when I have to say stuff different. Does that make sense? Large triggers are the correction point. And when they overlap from two separate charts, well, that's pretty cool. The same way, Mike, this fib, which is native to the chart, and this fib, which is from a different chart, when these overlap in the same spot, that makes me feel good. So not only is my fib from the large chart inside of the correction point, but my fib from the small chart and the large chart is inside of the correction point. So when I have split triggers, and let's go back to the idea of confirmation. So when I have split triggers, I have two correction points. So I'm looking at the large chart, right? And this says kick ass. But on my small chart, I have to ask myself, is price going to come to this one or is it going to come to this one? You'll never know, Mike. You will never in a million years know which one it's going to come to because you're not moving the market. This is where if I have split triggers, I love confirmation. This is where you can say, hey, give me a reversal bar. I'll pay a couple ticks because it's probably going to pull back to that lower correction point. I'm not positive, but it's got a chance. So I'm not just going to jump in right here because it still might go back here, right? So this is where you'll make a choice. You'll either enter right here, understanding that no matter where you enter this trade, that's where your stop goes. That's a blanket rule. That's a blanket rule that I'd like to avoid. There's more factors to it. If it's a high probability trend trade and they're split, let me see if I can find Jen's picture real quick where she did that. This is why keeping it basic first, Mike, pays huge dividends. Make them be favorable, right? At 100 reps with favorable, you're going to start to see exceptions. Let me see if I can find Jen's picture real quick because it was a good example. It may have been back a little bit. This is kind of one here. Odds favorable, everything up, right? And you've got areas in this, and you've also got synthetic down here. I love confirmation on this one because I just don't know which one it's going to go to. And it's still a good look over here, but it's not perfect. I'll wait for confirmation. But there was one that she had. Hopefully I can find it. It was a long. And I may have just missed it completely. She had a long trade that was a termination that reversed the market, that had odds favorable. There was nothing in the way, and it had split triggers. And she made the decision that she was willing to take that trade from the higher area because of the momentum on the large chart, because of the termination that reversed the market. Because, and I'm trying to make up an example here. Let's just do this one. Because of the termination. Well, that didn't have it. These are split, but there's so much force in the market that maybe I'm willing to go from the lower area. There's so much force in the market that maybe because of those split triggers, I'll choose to make a choice. Those aren't really split. Those are overlapping, 100%. I don't think this is the one. Look how tight they are on top of each other. There's one line inside of them. It's beautiful. So, Mike, if they're split, it's okay to wait for confirmation in the beginning. It's going to be your repetitions, guys. And I guess this is the point that I'm trying to make. It's the repetition. It's seeing the same thing over and over. It's seeing these patterns over and over that'll let you know when it's okay to take a little shot, right? To maybe say this isn't it and it's this one because you've seen it 100 times. But if in the very beginning, all of you that are new with me, if you say to yourself, this is my best look, right? And if I don't have this, I'm not saying don't take the trade. We're on simulator, right? If I don't have this, well then I'll wait for this because then with it not being perfect, I at least have my risk established. Does that make sense, Mike? I love these conversations, and I'm not going to lie to you. We're going to have it 1,000 times in this room, and I'll probably say it a different way every time, and hopefully everybody gets it. So at this point, Jonathan, I love that you waited for the pullback to support. Nicely done, and you made quick profits. Dig it. And this one you got in, and I'm not sure why you exited. But yeah, much better. Nice patience there, Jonathan. And guys, I think that's it for me. It's fun when class runs over. It means that we're learning. There's your gap theory one more time, ladies and gentlemen, in case anybody tried to go long. So, Mike, when am I not just getting in at the area into a termination? Hell no. See how it closes the gap back to the triggers right at support? If I felt like I needed to go long, that reversal bar at least keeps me out of all the yuck. Running careful with a little more repetition, Jonathan.